Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Today's guest is a UK local who has been shredding for over 20 years. In his time riding, he has been in countless magazines, rode in many contests, been sponsored by some of the biggest brands like Diamondback and Duff's Footwear, and produced 2 full-length DVDs, Unsung and What's Next. Just like most of life, you have to take the good with the bad, and he has dealt with some of the hardest things a person can endure. On January 7th, 2003, he would go into a coma after taking a crash while riding the day before. Things didn't get better at first, and he would have a heart attack while in his coma, which left his brain unresponsive. On January 13th, 2003, at the age of 19, Nik Ford had died. After 3.5 hours, the nurse came in to do her final round with Nik when she noticed a reaction in his pupils. He was alive and in the fight for his life. 18 years later, Nik Ford is here at the Goat Cave to tell us his story and so much more. Nik, dude, thank you so much for doing this, and how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for the intro. That was awesome.
Hell yeah, thank you for joining us here today. So, first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we ended up kind of setting this up. So, about 6 weeks ago, I received a very well-written email kind of explaining your story, and then on top of that, you had a whole file of just a bunch of stuff that I could look through, and it really grabbed my attention, man. I really wanted to kind of learn more, right? And one of the things that I saw in the email was that all the stuff that you had been doing within BMX, and that you had also, had this crazy story. And, before we get to that, we have some ground to cover. So, first of all, why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you got into riding?
Okay, so I was 13. That number comes up quite a bit. I was 13. I just got myself a paper round and just started taking some pride in my bike. I was using it every day. The newsagents that I was doing my paper round for, it was pretty cool. They just had to rip off the front covers of the magazines to send them back when the new ones came out. So I had access to all these bike magazines. So I was like, yeah, I'll have that one. I'll have that one. I'll have that one. And just got stoked on it. So then started trying to jump stuff because I'd seen it in the magazines. And then I was like, I need to get a BMX. So there was a kid at school, Harry. He had a BMX up for sale, Mongoose Rogue. So I got that with my paper round money and just started jumping stuff. We didn't have any skate parks. It was, what would it have been, 1996. So there was no local skate park, but we had race tracks, pump tracks. So I got a GT race bike. So I was like, yeah, that's what you do. But then I put pegs on it and I bent it. So I was like, okay, I need a freestyle bike. So got a I got a Mongoose. I had to save up for a Mongoose with my paper round money. So I took on some more paper rounds. And the local bike shop, Pashley, they had a payment scheme. So I'd get paid on a Saturday morning and I'd wait outside the shop to give them my paper round money towards this Mongoose FX1 it was. And eventually paid it all off, got the bike. It was the sickest thing ever. It was a blue color. It had gyro, pegs, all sorts of stuff. I was like, wow, this is the bike to take me to that next level. And then I broke it. So gutted. So I went back to Pashley and said, I've broken my bike. Is it warranty? And they were just like, nah. And I was like, what do you mean it's not warranty? I've spent months saving up for this. And they're like, yeah, we've seen the way you ride that bike. It's not warranty, but we like the way you ride that bike. And they just said, you can have a bike if you work for us to pay it off. I was buzzing. I was just finished school at this point. So it's probably about 3 years in. And their generosity, I'd probably given up there and then. I had no money, was broke. And they said, you can come in, we'll give you a bike and you can work to pay it off. And I just kept going in.
Dude, that's incredible. It's really cool to hear that kind of story. When I first got into riding, I actually had a paper road as well. And I was riding a mountain bike at first. And then I ended up getting just this used Diamondback bike from my buddy's backyard where he, had left it for years. So same thing, right? Like it had like a flat tire, was not in very good condition at that point, but doing my paper route was like how I bought it. And then from there, I kind of like, just kept riding and whatnot. And here we are, man. Pretty wild, eh?
Yeah, man, paper rounds.
Definitely. Oh man. So looking at those magazines and whatnot that you would get a hold of, obviously those kind of guys really inspired you to start riding. And was there any local kids that you had met at this point that really got you stoked on riding?
Well, there was a few of us that had bikes. We had like the paper round crew, if you will. We all had bikes, and we kind of got into BMX from there. But there wasn't, back then, like, there wasn't so many riders. So everyone was kind of like, in my area, there was no one that had kind of really much older than us as such. So there was no one that took it to that next level. So we were all just kind of bumbling through bikes. I think the level of progression was slower back then, as compared to like, if you're 16 now, you can probably go upside down a couple of times or whatever. But no, there wasn't necessarily anyone local in the early days. But once I got that job at Pashley, my world was just like opened up to, wow, like look at these riders. It was during the TV series range, and they had Kai Forte, Toby Forte, Leo Forte, Ed Tung, Kerry Edgeworth, Scott Edgeworth, Ross Hill, Dylan Clayton, all these guys. And that was like the people that I looked up to. I said I'd only been riding 3 years when I got that job. And they were the first ones that I really kind of looked up to. They had, I guess the team had quite like a kind of a trails style to it. All those guys are real good at riding dirt. Ed was the trials rider, but also real good on the BMX. He had the kind of technical stuff going on, but just getting to see people like Kai Forte and Toby Forte do sick tables, that was how I learned how to do a table. I was like, you've got to turn the bars, head down, good knees, don't have your feet miles away from the pedals. They really kind of shaped that side of things for me. And then the pegs kind of, I guess I went my own route on that, but seeing all those guys, that was real inspiring for me. I went to Bike 99 with Pashley, and I was on the stand selling T-shirts. Rooftop was doing 360 to sprocket on back rail, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is the stuff I see in props. I'm actually here watching it. And then I kind of was like, you know what, wouldn't it be sick one day to actually get to ride like the cycle show where these people get to ride, as opposed to be the guy on the stall selling stuff. Like, it would be sick to get to ride here one day. The same with Urban Games. I went to Urban Games on Clapham Commons. Sprite, they like did some stuff with BMX in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Urban Games was massive event. And I got to go there, see like Jerry Galley, Fids, Baz Keaton. It was like, loads of awesome riders. And I was there selling T-shirts and stuff on the Pashley stand, but I was just like, this is so awesome. Like, and that's like what kind of really sold the BMX dream to me.
Dude, that's so wild, and to think about like being at those contests is nuts, dude. Especially what you were saying, right? Like about Rooftop doing these huge tricks and whatnot. Is that it's exactly like what you see in props, right? That gets you so excited that at this point, you could order a monthly issue of props or however often it was, right? And it's just one of those things that it's like when you're there and in person, the vibe is way different than, watching it. And it's like so much more than what you'd expect, right? Like it's hard to even explain to somebody that doesn't ride BMX, right? I guess it's like watching the game on TV and then going and seeing it in person, right? It's so much different. But with BMX, I just feel like there's way more love, right? Like everybody wants everybody to win, essentially. Like I've never been to a contest and been like, oh, I hope that this dude doesn't take the win, Like it's always about like, oh shit, this guy is probably going to take it, which is sick.
Yeah, man. Like I had like my lunch break and I didn't eat nothing. I just stood there like with my jaw on the floor, just like, wow, look at all this.
Yeah, man, I definitely think that at these bike shows and whatnot, they need to have these contests. In Canada, we had the Metro Jam, which was huge in props, right? Like they did a thing there every year. And with Metro Jam, it was one of those things that like they did it at the International Bike Show. So, first weekend of March, people would come in from all over. And this actually lasted for years. They would fly into Toronto and then they would go and ride the contest. And even in recent years, man, like Daniel Sandoval would show up. There's this dude, Toshi from Japan, who would fly from Japan just to ride in this contest. And it's pretty sick, right? And then unfortunately, like recent years, they kind of stopped doing the BMX show there and they've done it, at other places. But yeah, it kind of sucks. I'm like doing it at the International Bike Show is perfect because like, I'm sure you'd agree, if you're doing it at like a local indoor park or something, that's great. I mean, it's awesome to still have these contests and whatnot, but it's really important that we have something where you can have a brand new course that no one's ever touched, right? Everybody's on the same playing field. Everybody is riding this course for the first time that weekend rather than riding it, all year, figuring out what your lines are going to be, perfecting it, and then going in and doing your same run that you do every night.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things that I'm kind of passionate about. It's like, I don't know. I love to see these contests where they bring the ramps in, they build the course for that specific thing instead of just doing it at like the local park or whatever.
Yeah, so we have the cycle show still happens. It's been at the NEC for years in Birmingham. I think it's now moved to Earl's Court, and they've done away with. They used to have dirt jumps. They used to have like slalom races, like four-cross stuff. BMX course built. I think at the last cycle show there was just like a small stage for flatland, which is cool that those guys get some shine. But for the public, like all the other bike riders, the road riders, the mountain bikers, they don't really get to see what BMX like is in that sense. Whereas if you were a young kid and your mum or dad had dragged you along to the bike show because they were into bikes like 10 years ago, you might have been like, oh, look at this, and seen all the BMX, as opposed to being dragged around the electric gears and whatever now. Yeah, it's a shame that BMX doesn't get its shine at some of these shows, but there's still some contests happening that are including BMX, but the larger they are, it's harder for people to get into. Not every rider then gets a chance to ride that course if they're being handpicked or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that, right? Like any of the Toronto bike shows, I always wanted to just ride I always wanted to ride in the contest, and I could have paid to enter, but it was just one of those things that like, I don't have time to ride. Like I don't have time for the whole weekend, but I kind of wish I would have done it because the courses were always insane, right? Like always incredible. And I have a few friends that rode in like some of the, early ones, like 2004, 2005, which is sick. Like being able to look back at these, right? Because they were actually on like, props and whatnot. So super good for them. But yeah, we have the same thing here, right? Where the bike show isn't allowing like, the big course and whatnot. It kind of, I guess, takes up too much space for them. So, which is fair. I get it. But they do flatland there now. So the flatland guys do get some shine, which is awesome. Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about, kind of where you've went with BMX. So over the years here, we've got, you rode for a company in 2008 and then decided to kind of part ways with them and ended up getting hooked up with Diamondback. So with Diamondback, it's pretty rad to be a part of them. They're a huge company, that has done so much in BMX. So yeah, how did this all come about?
Okay, so shout out to Miraco. I had a Miraco flow deal through a local bike shop. They gave me 6 bikes for the local skate park in Redditch to teach the kids on. We used to get like youth groups coming through. They promised quite a bit of stuff. And at the time with Miraco, they were only available through Trek. So the bikes couldn't be sent in the post and it was all a bit confusing. So nothing kind of really happened there after that initial, here's your Black Pearl, here's 6 bikes. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be awesome. But it didn't kind of get going. So my bike fell into bit of a ratty state. And then the shop I was working at, they were buying loads of stuff off Diamondback, and just happened to sort of mention that we've got a guy that works here who's pretty sick and his bike's a bit shit, anything you can do. And the team manager at the time, Mike Sanderson, he sent me an email. We just got chatting. The guy is a dude. I guess he bought something similar, and it kind of grew from there. So yeah, they hooked us up with a complete bike and a lot of t-shirts and stuff, and just said, see how you get on. And then that was me for 7 years. I rode for Diamondback. We had 2 team managers. So Mike Sanderson was the first one. He teamed us up with KHE. They were making the bikes, so they were like European spec, and it kind of grew into Diamondback EU as a European team. We had Roger from Spain, as well as growing the team here in the UK. And then when Jason Bones came in, we still did stuff with KHE, but we moved more towards like the American side of things. So Ben Huckey was like drafted in, and he came over for a tour and stuff. But yeah, 7 years I rode for Diamondback. And Raleigh, who owned Diamondback, was up for sale. And then when it got bought out, I could kind of see things were changing. We weren't getting as many adverts. And I just thought to myself, I'm going to like leave. No animosity towards the brand. I love Diamondback, you know. But I could see things were changing. And I always wanted to, I'd hate to have been like dropped, you know, because it was a dream come true to be on the pro team. You know, when I was younger, I saw in the magazines it Diamondback Venom. I wanted it so bad, but I couldn't afford it. To then like fast forward and be on the team and choosing which bike I had, it was a massive dream come true for me. So I took the decision to stand down because I thought they were going to like quit the program, but I didn't want to get dropped. I wanted to leave, so I left. And then like 6 months later, they quit the whole BMX program. They took away all the funding. The new owners, I guess, saw it as we're chucking a lot of money at this. And while the BMX market's struggling, like I don't know so much now. I've moved away from the industry in terms of a behind the scenes job, but yeah, they quit it. They cut the program.
Dude, that's so wild, especially since when I was doing research for this, you're still on their website. I don't know if you knew that, but like if you look up, your name, it pops up like within one of the first Google search results. So a little, I wonder if like all those people that were on the Diamondback UK team are no longer on there, or how that works. But yeah, man, it's pretty sick to be a part of a team like that, right? Like, especially to see kind of how far you went with BMX, and to be on Diamondback is definitely like kind of a pretty good honor, right? They're a pretty big brand in BMX. You know, they aren't as big over here, I believe. But in the UK, I know that they were kind of, you know, a big thing at one point.
Oh yeah, no, it was when I was younger, like in the magazines, they always had full page ads. And I just thought it was such a rad looking bike, like chrome with blue decals, seafood grips, and you could see it said like DB on the handlebars. I was like, they're sick. Yeah, and a big brand over here. And yeah, it was a huge honor to ride for them and to have done the things I did with them. I felt like when I joined the brand, they were slightly plateauing, if you will. And then like we moved on, we stepped it up. You know, we were getting adverts in the magazines again, features, getting contest results, me and the team. And yeah, it's a shame really that they quit the program, because myself and the riders that were on the team were really moving it forwards. But yeah, no, massive brand with massive history, and I'd like to think my name is now in the Diamondback history book. Like I say, 7 years with them.
Yeah, dude, that's it's wild to think about, you know, 7 whole years with Diamondback. Good for you, man. That's an honor. Yeah, so to kind of go back here on you know, sponsors and whatnot, you actually are still hooked up with Duff's Footwear to this day. So, you know, how long have you been with them? Because I know it's been quite a while.
So I've been with Duff's for a long time. I first got hooked up with Duff's in 2009. So what's that now?
Like 11, 12 years, yeah.
Yeah. So I got on Diamondback in 2008, and there was a big sort of push within the brand. In 2008, I had a Diamondback Accomplice, which was part of the American range. But 2009, we were getting the KHE stuff coming through, so there was going to be a big push. And then local bike shop, Entity, not Entity as in Matt Nicklin, who I know you had on recently, but Entity, we had one closer to here called Entity Board Sports. And it was, they did like snowboarding and stuff, but also Where's the guy who ran it was a keen BMXer. And he was buying Duff shoes for the shop. And he happened to mention to the Duff's rep that local rider Nik Ford is with Diamondback and he's going off to do a photo shoot soon for the new 2009 range. So they just gave me a pair of shoes. Just said, like, wear these when you go. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll wear them. So I wore these Duff shoes for the photo shoot. And then the adverts started popping up in the ride and stuff, like Ride Mag. And then Duffs were like, hell yeah, like, let's do this. And they started sending me quarterly care packages. And I've been with them ever since. They've changed hands a couple of times. So when I first started riding for Duffs, it was Duffs. Then it moved to Jackal distribution. And then I think they got in some money troubles and M&M Direct acquired the name. And now they're doing Duffs from their website. Shout out to Estelle and Martha for everything they do. They've supported all my events and charity events and things with generous donations. And yeah, man, I couldn't be more stoked to represent them. Like, it's a company with massive history. Again, like Diamondback, it's a mid-school thing. And yeah, no, very proud to still be riding for Duffs. Like I say, they've never really asked anything of me. Just said, do you, and we'll support you doing you. Like, I'm pretty motivated, I suppose.
Definitely, man. I can definitely see that you're a super motivated guy, right? With everything that you're up to all the time. And then on top of this too, you know, what's really cool is I believe Ryan Biz Jordan used to ride for Duffs, did he not?
Yeah, for sure. And if you look on the Matt Hoffman computer game, there's like Duff's logos all in the background and stuff.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it's sick, man, to think like I'm in there with that, and it was, you know, on the Matt Hoffman computer game, and yeah, Biz was on him. Loads of those guys. You watch any of the old road rules, there's Duff stickers everywhere. Yeah,
man. It's definitely got some great history in BMX as a brand. So to see that they're still repping to this day and still helping people out is rad, man. It's really cool of them. Yeah. So, you know, there was quite a few things that you've done over the years, and one of them that was kind of recent was, you know, the jam, A Light in the Dark for Calm. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about this? Because I thought this was a great way to fundraise, and I think that we need more stuff like this. You know, the whole idea behind it was basically to, you know, talk about depression and kind of the struggles behind mental health and whatnot. And to see that you are doing something about that is rad.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's well, I guess to every BMX rider, we were sort of touched in recent years by the passing of Dave Mirra, from his, like they say, CTE, from his head injuries and how he felt and stuff. That kind of struck a nerve with me because I, if I'm being brutally honest, like Cam, I struggled quite a bit. I have done for a long time. But never kind of realised it in the sense that I know we're going to go into it at some point. But after my head injury, I didn't really take all the help that was offered because I just wanted to get back on my bike. And it was only later on in life that it kind of caught up with me a little bit. I was left alone with my thoughts a bit more than when like I was riding like all the time, every day. And yeah, I ended up having to go and sort of, you know, reach back out for the help that was initially offered to me. And I didn't really know how to vocalize what was going on. And I thought, if I don't know how to vocalize this, there's bound to be other geezers out there that don't know how to say how they're feeling. So I just wanted to do something to try and get people talking and realize that it's okay, you know, it's cool. Like, you can talk and you should talk to people, you know. It's like 2021 now. There's no reason you should like men should think they have to bottle stuff up. If you don't feel well, you don't feel well, you know? Own it, be proud of it, and talk it out, because we can't lose any more heroes. We can't lose any more brothers, you know, whatever. We just need to talk about things. So I was like, right, okay, let's do something here. So I organised an event, and I called it a light in the dark because I wanted to do it at night time, because the skate park in Stratford had recently had some lights put in. Now, if they'd have had those lights years ago, God, I never would have left. So I wanted to do something to kind of say thanks and celebrate the fact that they put lights in. But then it kind of played into the metaphor of that there is always a light in the dark. So I thought this is going to be a great way to raise some money for CALM, which stands for Campaign Against Living Miserably. And you can contact them if you feel you need to speak to someone, but you don't feel you can speak to a friend. It's anonymous. So I wanted to raise some money for them. So I made sure everybody that came, I've always done events and I've never charged people. I've always paid for it. Well, like yourself, like, you know, we put these things on and it's out of our own pockets. But I was like, no, this time you've got to put your hand in your pocket because the money's going to a good cause. £8 it costs them approximately to take a phone call, you know, so everyone's got to bring some money because they're a non-profit organisation, and they're doing such a good job. So yeah, I made sure everyone brought money and they had to pay to ride each event. So I made sure there was loads of events. So I thought that's going to get more money in. And I got loads of support from the industry. The Ride Mag posted a feature on the website about it. Mark Noble at Mongoose and GT, he sent some prizes. Duffs were obviously there. They sent some stuff. I got some bits from Four Down. Stay Strong, they sent a few bits. I'm sure there was a few more sponsors that escapes me at the moment. But yeah, I had loads of support, loads of names on the poster to get them down. And it's awesome evening. And we raised, I think it was like 170 quid or something, which is enough to take like over 20 phone calls. So that one event could have potentially saved like 20 lives. And like the plan was this year to do heaps more events. I was going to try and turn it into like a series, so people have to go and hit stops to rack up points, but then that gets the money coming in for CALM. But everyone knows 2020 played out a little differently than we all planned. But yeah, it's still going to happen because Duffs have pledged their support. Mark Noble, Mongoose GT, he said he'll help out. So yeah, it will happen. Just I got to wait, I suppose.
Definitely. And, a huge shout out to you, man, because all that stuff takes a lot of work, and to see that you're really, just trying to donate your time and your effort to, a cause that really matters is really incredible, man. Good for you. And I think that we need more things like this. I kind of want to do a jam where we fundraise to help, some sort of, like fundraiser out there or non-for-profit, or maybe even try and do something for a rider who might not be doing so good at the moment, so it's definitely something that's really important. And especially when we just passed, I think it was 5 years of Dave Mira no longer being with us, and it's pretty crazy to think about, because I remember exactly where I was when we kind of heard the news. It was I was working at an indoor park at the time, and it literally blew our minds. We didn't think that this was true at all. Like, somebody had said, "Hey, did you hear that Dave Mira died?" And I was like, "What? Like, when?" He's like half an hour ago. I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" And I know that the whole session that night kind of just came to an end, because it's just so unfortunate, right? Dave was such an important part of BMX, who, really brought BMX to the next level. And I think it was really important that we had Dave in BMX. And it's really, really sad that we lost him to CTE, which is something that, I've talked about on the show quite a few times. CTE is one of those things that I'm so kind of afraid of some people getting, because it really can happen to anybody that gets, a significant head injury. And it doesn't even have to be that significant, right? Like, as BMX guys, we wear helmets most of the time. And even for yourself in your crash, you were wearing a helmet, which is even scarier to think about. And look at Scotty, right? Scotty Kramer was wearing a helmet, and Brett Banasewicz was wearing a helmet. All these people were doing everything right. And it just kind of happens. And I don't know. I really hope that people that have significant head injuries don't have to suffer with CTE, because it's something that, we can't even figure out until, we have an autopsy. That's the only way that we'll know.
Yeah, for sure. And my brain is definitely being donated to science, because the medication that I'm on is more like PTSD based, for the traumas that I've sustained or been through, and some of my anxiety. But I don't necessarily think it's always that. Like, I think the things that have happened to my head over the years definitely have changed the way that I think, and it's I guess it's a bit of a battle to tell yourself that it's just thoughts or whatever. But yeah, there's but there's 4 stages to sort of CTE, and yeah, hopefully soon they'll be able to work stuff out as opposed to in post mortem.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is real for sure. And I definitely want them to have a look inside my brain when I'm gone.
For sure, man. And I think that it's something that would be incredible to be able to treat, like if we could kind of see the signs beforehand and work around it and make sure that people can live comfortably for the rest of their life and not have to suffer with these crazy thoughts and, the stuff that kind of goes on, because it really isn't up to them, right? Like, your brain's it's a very interesting part of the body that I don't think we really fully understand yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, some days, like, I can't even explain it. Like, I just feel like so on edge. But then it's like, if you knew why, you wouldn't feel on edge, would you? But then you have to remind yourself that it's okay. You're thinking like this because of this, and just try and be present, as opposed to get to. Sometimes it can spiral, like, and I don't even know what shoes to put on.
Fair enough.
But it's they've definitely got to have a look inside my brain.
Yeah. So, while we're on this topic, I would love to jump into kind of what happened years ago. So in the intro, I mentioned that you had actually sustained a pretty traumatic head injury, and, you were shipped off to the hospital, and after about a week of being in a coma, you had a heart attack, and you would actually be pronounced dead, essentially. You were brain dead. Your brain was not responsive to anything. And, what's wild to think about is that in this process, right, you're officially gone at this point, and it's so like weird to say, because you're here with me right now, obviously, but just to kind of get there, your parents and your girlfriend at the time had all agreed that, you would love to put yourself up for organ donation and whatnot. And like, they're going through the stages to finally basically say goodbye. And, 3.5 hours after you were kind of pronounced dead, you actually kind of started responding to the nurse. Your pupils started to dilate and whatnot. So this is just so crazy to even think about, right? It's so hard to understand. Like, I spent most of the day yesterday just kind of online researching and trying to figure out kind of what happened and whatnot. So, I know that your memory of it is very, very foggy. So why don't you try and walk us through this, from the day that you started at the park and then to the end here?
Yeah, for sure. So I say a lot of it, everything pre 2003, it was like gone. Like, it just gone. Everything that I know or I recite is all because people have told me, friends have told me. I looked at a lot of photos to see, like, oh yeah, I can blast in spine or whatever. I guess so. It might jump around a bit, but that's kind of like how my head goes. I'll try and do it as chronological as possible from what I now say I know. But it was 2003. I was riding at Epic Skate Park in Birmingham, UK, doing some 180. They had like a real big spine. I was doing 180s, 180 tire grabs over that. And apparently I fell off like several times in the evening and hit the back of my head. But I was wearing a helmet, and like I've always kind of took a few falls and that, because well, if you're not falling, you're not trying. That was kind of my mentality, and I took a few crashes, drove home. Like, it wasn't until the next morning that I woke up, went downstairs, and then like my dad just heard like a massive crash, like a big bang in the kitchen. I was like, what the fuck? What's he doing down there? So he came downstairs, and I was just like on the floor, like just seizuring or whatever. So they called the ambulance, took me to the hospital, and like then they realised like my head pressure. So average head pressure is between 1 and 10, and mine was peaking at like 85. They're like, shit, this is pretty serious. So I was like put in intensive care, and they continued to monitor me. Then went into a coma, and then the pressure was getting that severe, like it was pushing down on my spine and stuff. So they were like, right, we're gonna have to cut the front part of his brain out to allow for the swelling, which would have left me living a very different life to the one that I live now. And they say like in the coma you can hear stuff, and I think what had happened was like I heard all this going on, and I was like, you don't take my fucking brain out, like don't do this, I'm good, I just need some time. So I had these heart attacks as a way to kind of like say, no, leave me alone, fuck off. And then so they didn't take the brain out because I'd like gone, like pupils were dilated, the brain was gone. The kid's brain dead, like just leave him. So they just left me, and then like after the 3.5 hours, after my parents had told everyone that I hadn't made it, the nurse was doing like a final check or something, and my eye twitched, and then that was it. I was back in intensive care, wired up. Like the doc said, there's no medical explanation as to what happened or why, and I thought that was kind of cool for a long time. The papers wrote it up as miracle BMX rider, and I believed all that hype, and I quite liked it. It was something to be pretty stoked about, and then it did kind of then became like the monkey on my back. But yeah, it was. I got out of there like maybe like a month after it all happened or something. But it was like when I left there, I probably wasn't ready to leave there. Like, I think I left there in a wheelchair. I had no muscles. I'd like wasted away. I didn't know like anything really. I couldn't read or write. I had like a tracheotomy thing when they trying to get me going again and stuff, and I was real conscious of it, and like I didn't talk, or I talked real quiet. I didn't want like everything to fall out of my throat. That made me quite self-conscious, to be fair. Like, big open wound on my neck. I was real weak. I couldn't really stand up too good. I didn't know a lot. It was but I knew I wanted to get out of there. I knew that much for sure. Because I wanted to get back on my bike. I knew that. I thought I was left-handed at first, but Mum was like, try your right hand. I was like, that makes a better shape. But I didn't know anything. Like, it was a full like restart really for me, which I was keen to sort of try and make the most of, and didn't want to be like tied down with too much rehab and stuff. Like, I don't know, my brain wasn't mature enough to take in the seriousness of it all. I just was like, oh, like, okay, right, whatever. There was worse for everyone else. They were present in this, I was just in a coma. Like, I didn't know nothing. And then when I did know something, it was like, okay, cool, when can we go ride bikes? So it's probably worse for them in many ways, because I just I wasn't there. I don't know where I was. And that's things that I've had to deal with later on in life as to where do you go. But yeah, it was about a month I think in total that it happened in. And then when I was discharged on so many prescription drugs. I lost my license, so I couldn't drive because of the heart attack. They weren't sure if it was like brought on by an epileptic fit or something. So, and I was taking medicines because you couldn't take that medicine with that medicine. So you had to take this medicine because you're taking them two together, and it just pickled my insides completely, like just ruined me. And it took me a long time to come off these prescription medicines. A long time. And then when I started uni, I had like a pill box, which all my pills were set out in. It's not how you should be starting uni. But I knew I had to go to get like my independence back. So I live like in the Midlands in the UK. I went to Cornwall, so it's quite far from home. But I knew like I needed to kind of get back on my feet. But yeah, I started uni with a pill box with them all set out at the times I had to take them. Yeah, man, I pretty much rattled. I was on that many of them. Yeah, I didn't even know what they were. I just was given all these things to take because they didn't know what had gone on. They were just like, "Oh, he's back. Take these," and I just took them. But yeah, it messed me up, man. Like my insides. Yeah, they. I don't like prescription medicines, and that's why it was hard for me to go back on them. But like for my mental health, I had to go back on some of them anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, just to kind of go on that point, we've come a long way since then, right? Like we are now 18 years of yesterday of you getting out of the hospital, which is pretty crazy to think about. 2003, February 6th, today is February 7th, 2021, which is pretty wild to think about, right? Like 18 years and you're still here with us, which is amazing. We're definitely lucky to have you. Yeah. So, just to kind of go back there, because this was something that I was just so interested in, and I hope you don't mind, but, something that we kind of always hear with death, and I'm not sure you experienced this because you were in a coma, is that when people die or have near-death experiences, it feels a lot like what a DMT trip would be. Do you know what DMT is?
It's to do with the pineal gland, is it not?
Yeah, so with DMT, it's actually a drug that can be extracted from like certain trees in the rainforest. It's super weird, right? Like, these shaman monks will do ayahuasca, which is like basically a long form DMT, and then DMT is like ayahuasca but put into like 15 minutes. And what's crazy about it is that many people talk about the similarities between DMT and, near-death experiences because your body does produce it in the pineal gland. So with that, people kind of believe that when you die, that is released. So like into your brain. And that's why you see, these bright lights, or you see your life flash before your eyes and you get that warmth feeling, and that kind of inner peace feeling. Apparently it's from that, you're kind of just going at that point, and it helps you. But yeah, I don't think you would have been able to feel any of that because you were in a coma at the time. Is that the case? I would assume that is.
Yeah, I don't remember anything, but certainly there is now. I am now left with a chemical imbalance in my brain. So maybe that did happen, and that's where we're at now with the chemical imbalance and some of the CTE syndromes and the PTSD and stuff that I experience. But no, I don't have any, like, there was no Mulder and Scully or anything. We didn't get beamed up or anything.
Yeah,
it would have been cool to have seen like Mulder and Scully.
There you go. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was something that you might have experienced at any point. But yeah, so, after waking up, it's been about 3 weeks, I would say, that from your accident, and then you kind of wake up and you're really not sure what's going on. And I feel like you probably can't even remember the first like week in the hospital, can you?
I do, like, there is bits. I woke up and I was like, fuck, trying to pull things off me, because you wake up and you're like, you don't know what's going on. You wake up and you've got tubes up your nose, you've got tubes in your throat, all these machines beeping. I had a bolt hanging out of my head. to measure the intracranial pressure, you know. So I woke up and then they'd have to like put me back again or whatever. Yeah, it was pretty strange. And then one of the first things my mum always tells me is when I woke up, like, and wasn't thrashing about, I was doing this. So for those in podcast world, I was doing a circle with my finger, round and round and round and round. And I bet they thought, oh, he is mental now. He's gone. He's proper crazy. But no, I don't know how my mum worked this out yet, but what that means I want a slush puppy. You know, like the spinning wheel?
Yeah.
You know, like that spins all the ice round. That's what I was doing. And I was just laying there doing that. But it's obviously because my throat was so raw from all these tubes in me.
Yeah.
And then Mum thought he's going to be all right. Because if he's got that sort of cognitive thinking that his throat's sore, get him some like ice, like, you know, a snow cone, whatever. So yeah, that was one of the first things. Where's my slush puppy deal, yo? So I wanted a cold drink. That was one of my first memories of coming back, I suppose. Was a cold drink.
Yeah, so what's crazy to think about too here is the fact that you had to relearn everything essentially. Like, you know, after being in a coma for a month, you really have to start all over again. You have to learn to walk, you have to learn to talk, you have to learn how to do, you know, basic things. And what were some of the things that you had to do just to kind of get back to where you were today?
Yeah, so I did go to rehab for a little bit. I had to pour like water into jugs to test like spatial awareness. I had to make a coat hanger, which seemed real weird, but like bending wire around a frame. I just thought they were trying to, you know, they're taking the piss. This is slave labor. What am I making all your coat hangers for? So I didn't quite get it at the time. I'd say I wasn't mentally mature enough for some of the things. So I didn't go to as many sessions as I was meant to go to. I kind of discharged myself in the end and was like, look, BMX, if I can get back on my bike and get to like where I was, then I've made a recovery, haven't I? That's it. You know, if I can get back to doing what I was doing, I'm sorted. At least that's what I thought. So, yeah, it was... Cam, what was the question, man?
No, that's okay. So, to go back here, we were talking a little bit about what the process of coming back to where you are now, what you had to do to learn to, you know, get to where you are. Yeah,
so, like I say, I really had to start again. But I knew I wanted to get back on my bike. The docs weren't keen on this. My family weren't so keen. But my girlfriend at the time, she was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. So bless her, she set me up like a spreadsheet, and I'd do like one press up a day for a couple of days. Then we'd introduce one sit up. Then we'd introduce like a walk around the block. Because I went down to like 7 stone. But I couldn't even pick my bike up, let alone try and go and ride it. So yeah, bless her, she really helped me get myself strong enough again to even entertain the idea of going for a bike ride before I could begin the master plan of trying to get back to bike riding. So yeah, she did heaps for me, or she still does. Bless her. Like, she's my wife now, you know. How could she not be? How could she not be?
Yeah, exactly, man. And that was one of the things that definitely, you know, really made me smile is that, you know, all these years later, you guys are still together. You guys have a kid together now. And it's really great to see when, you know, a couple can kind of come together and work against, you know, something that might have happened that was super unfortunate. And she definitely, you know, put in a lot of effort, which is rad. So good for her, man. But yeah, to kind of go back here, something I wanted to mention was just the fact that, oh man, it slipped my brain. I'm so sorry. 1 second. Just trying to think about it again. All right, never mind. We'll get back to it. So, yeah. Anyways, with your brain, obviously, like taking a traumatic head injury like that, there's obviously irreversible damage. Always, like anytime that you hit your head, there's some sort of damage done to your brain. And for you, you know, obviously that's been something that was huge. And oh, sorry. Here, I figured it out. I'll come back to that. So the question I was going to ask was the fact that, you know, you had said that you went down to 7 stone, which is, I believe, 112 pounds. What were you at beforehand? Do you remember?
I probably would have been about 9 stone.
Okay.
9.5 stone.
Yeah.
So I probably lost about 2 stone, maybe 2 stone and a bit. in that time that I was laid up. It's your muscle that goes first. And I'd like to think I was in pretty good shape back then. Like I was doing kickboxing, riding all the time. So yeah, all the muscle just wasted away. And then with the this is it. With the spreadsheet that like my girlfriend at the time had made me, the plan was behind that. Yeah, sorry, things jump around a little bit.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
This is how my brain goes. You know, I'm here and then I'm there, then I'm back there. So yeah, she'd done this spreadsheet for me because I had this dream that, right, I'm going to win the Redditch Relax Jam. So the year previous, in 2002, I got third in B group spine and was like, and that was awesome for me, you know. Like I thought that was it. I was like, yeah, sweet. But then like after my head injury, it made me so competitive because I had to pass so many tests. Like I had to pass the test to get my license back. I had to do that water test. You know, I was always being challenged. So I became quite competitive, and all of a sudden I was like, got to win everything. You know, like third's not enough now. I need to get this. So there was about 6 or 7 months from having died to when the Relax Jam was due to happen. So that was like my goal, was to be there on the deck, ready to drop in. So yeah, we had our work cut out for us, that's for sure. Like I say, I went down to 7 stone, 7.5 stone. But yeah, right, managed to get myself on the deck of that event, and yeah, took the win. It was a dream come true for sure. Like I hadn't really got like a medal before that. I'd done a few bits at school, but like I wasn't really a competitive guy. Just happy doing what I was doing. Like, and yeah, to win, it was am spine, and to win that, it was so emotional, like so emotional. It's one of my proudest moments from where I was to then. Yeah, man. Like I guess I look back and there's events that have been bigger that I've gone to and done well, but that event, for what it meant, one of the proudest moments in my life. And yeah, like my girlfriend was there, she got to see it. Yeah, man, like that day, that medal means heaps to me.
Definitely, man. And to hear that was super inspiring. You know, when I read that, when I was doing research for this, I was honestly really, really proud of you at that moment, just because you had endured so much, right? Like the average person had not been through what you went through in your short 19 years at that point in their whole lifetime. So to see you kind of battle all of that and come back and then not only compete, but to win is incredible, man. You should really be proud of yourself. That's awesome.
It was a big day in my recovery, that's for sure, because it gave me the confidence to, you know, I was like, I can do this, and I wanted to make sure that like it wasn't like any sort of sympathy win or anything. You know, I sent Superman seat grab bar spin over the spine, downside tail whip. I went in, like I wasn't there just to make up the numbers or anything. You know, I wanted to win on my own merits and not win on the backstory.
Yeah, and I definitely think that you won on your own terms, you know, which is rad. I know that there was a photo in a magazine of you doing a whip over the spine, was there not?
Yes, yeah. That was Bmx Rider magazine, which Steve Rook, who is the director and the guy who makes Redditch Skate Park happen, at the time he was also the editor of a magazine called Bmx Rider, and he was a real supporter of myself and the comeback. He ran an article in the back of the magazine. Hoffman was on the front cover, and I had the back page. That was pretty sick.
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah, man, he was on that yellow Hoffman Condor of his. Yeah, he had the front cover, and then my story was in the back. Yeah, Steve ran that article in Bmx Rider. I got to go on a couple of road trips where they would send myself and like the local group of riders to a skate park to do like a skate park check. And we did like a road trip article out of it. He really kind of gave me some early shine in print, which was awesome because, having worked in the newsagents and got the magazines from such a young age, to suddenly see myself in a newsagent in the magazine, I was like, oh, fuck yeah, man, this is it. This is something ticked off the dream list, So yeah, that was massive. It's a shame the magazine didn't stick around much longer, to be honest. But once I'd got with Diamondback, things in Ride sort of started happening anyway. So, I still got to do magazine stuff, but it was just nice that there was not a local magazine, if you will, but I had a local connection in with a magazine. So yeah, that really helped in the early days.
Hell yeah, man. And, what's unfortunate is that with most magazines, they end up kind of disappearing. We had Chase magazine in Canada, and then we also had Red BMX magazine, and both of them, unfortunately met the test of time and couldn't, pursue after a certain length. And then even, with the big time magazines that are shipped internationally, right? Like Dig is doing one issue a year now, which I was able to get my hands on the 2020 issue. Thank you so much, Matt from Entity. He shipped that out for me. I went on
Matt's
there.
A good dude.
Yeah, dude. And just to kind of sidetrack here for a second, I went on Dig's website and nobody, no shops in Canada had it. I was like, are you kidding me? No shops in Canada are going to be carrying this. So I don't know, maybe next year I'm going to send them a message and just say, hey, if you guys are looking for a distributor in Canada, send them my way and I'll ship them out for you. I don't mind,
Hell yeah.
I have a web store and everything, so it's easy for people to purchase it. But to jump back here, so we are kind of getting back into magazines now. We have Dig, who is doing their 1 year, their issue every year, and then we also have Ride UK is making a comeback. I don't know if you saw that, but
yeah, no, I'm excited about that for sure.
Yeah, dude, that was a great thing to wake up to on Christmas Eve. We heard that, so dude, stoked for that. And whenever they do come back, I'm going to be ordering a subscription if they're going to do a monthly thing or however they're going to do it. But yeah, to jump back here a couple minutes. So I was going to ask you kind of about brain trauma and whatnot and how your brain has healed to this day. So obviously, we had Mike Aiken on the show and he was saying at his point, he's still, learning how to do certain things. And for yourself, has there been anything that, you still struggle with 18 years later?
Yeah, for sure. So my memory's not too good. Regularly I'll go to the supermarket, I'll park the car, I'll come out of the supermarket and be like, where's the car? I don't know where I parked the car. Luckily, if you push the button, the lights flash, you can find it. I write loads of stuff down. There's notes everywhere.
Yeah.
I have to, just to help remember stuff, really. Because, I think this is why, I haven't, I don't know, I've always had sort of coping mechanisms to try and get through. So yeah, I write a lot of stuff down. But yeah, it's mainly sometimes I don't know, you just feel like you just get yourself so het up, and you can't even explain why you've got yourself in such a tiz. Your heart's going a million miles an hour. You can't think clearly. You don't know exactly why you can't think clearly. And then you have to try and kind of take steps back. And yeah, no, it plagues me daily. It is a struggle, but anything worth doing isn't easy. It shouldn't be that way. If it's easy, it's not worth doing, is it? So yeah, no, daily things go wrong with it, but keep a pen and paper to hand. You've got your phone in your pocket now. You can write notes on it. My wife's real good. She'll send me a text message with something that maybe I need to be reminded of. I guess the thing I probably struggle with the most is the anxiety of things. I like to do stuff, but then at the same time, sometimes I feel so anxious. It's hard to go and do the stuff. You've got yourself so worked up. But I know if I go and do it, it'll be sweet. So a prime example would be I went to this BMX event, Ride On. 2017, I nearly had to turn around, like, and come home because I had to keep stopping. Like, I wasn't well. I mean, some of that's partly due to medication, some of it's due to anxiety, but I nearly didn't get there just because I got myself so worked up. Like, and I knew it would be cool if I could just get there. And this is the thing, right? You might see me at a jam or something, but I've had to, like, there's been such a battle for me to even just get there. Because, like, I do suffer terribly, like, with anxiety, especially, like, socially. So, like, to even just to walk through a door sometimes is, like, a massive victory. But then to go there in 2019, 2 years after nearly having turned round, because I was so anxious, and win, like, the grind comp, I was super stoked, man. Like, super stoked. It was a massive victory. And the thing is, the guys wouldn't know this. They'd just see, Nik Ford turned up, did some exit grinds, got the win. Fair play to him. But 2 years ago, I was, pulling over and being sick and stuff because of just, there'll be people there. Of course there'll be people there. But, like, it does. It's difficult. It is difficult. But like I said, if it's, what comes easy won't last, and what lasts won't come easy. You got, and I know, like, looking back, I'll be super stoked that I did it, but in that present moment, like, it's difficult, but I am, like, really motivated by, like, achievements. So I might not necessarily feel like I'm 100% enjoying it at that moment, but I know the next day I'll be super stoked that I went and did it and I made it happen, and then I'll be buzzing. Like, and I think that's sometimes why people might think maybe, like, oh, he's a bit salty. I'm not really. I just genuinely care, like, an awful lot about what it is I'm doing, because I was told I'd never do it again. So the fact that I can, I want to make sure I'm doing it to the best that I can,
Yeah, definitely, man. And, props to you. And one thing that, I think is really rad that you're doing is the fact that you don't just let this kind of be something that is like, oh, yeah, it's my brain, that's what happens. You actually kind of fight against it, right? You know that you struggle with remembering certain things, so you write it down, you keep notes, you know how to kind of combat that and keep it, like, at bay, if that makes sense. You know how to better yourself in a way that works best for you, which is rad. And then,
Thanks,
so to go back on, like, you going to these contests and whatnot and just not really feeling all of the air for the 2017 one, that is something that, like, most people would kind of go through. And to see that, like, you were able to come back a few years later and then end up riding in it and doing really well is amazing too. Like, it's one of those things that I think, like, even just, like, some average people don't even enter contests just because of how terrifying it is for them. But for you, who's been through all of this and whatnot, and then has these kind of chemical imbalances with the brain because of that, to see that you kind of fought against that and then went and competed is incredible, man. Good for you.
Thanks, bro. I really appreciate those words. Like I say, the head injury did make me a real competitive person. And then there was some element of, like, I need to prove to myself that I've been fortunate enough to have been hooked up with these amazing companies, that I've been hooked up because I'm a good rider. Like, I didn't want to feel like I was getting anything for, like, the sob story and like, oh, look, he died, give him this, oh yeah, he should win this. I wanted to, like, prove to myself that I was getting this stuff because, like, I deserved it, or I was the best on that day in that moment, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's never competitive with, like, oh, I'm going to beat that guy, or that guy beat me last time. It's me versus me. And I could still feel like I've lost, even if, like, I won, because if I had a trick in my brain that, like, I wanted to do and I didn't do it, I'd be like, oh, Nik, you're a fucking pussy. Why didn't you do that? But, like, I might have still won, but it's like, oh, I wanted to do this as well. It definitely has made me more competitive with myself. And I just like the feeling of going to the events and digging in and trying that a bit harder than you might do, like, just on, like, a chill session at the local or whatever. I'm kind of happiest when I'm pushing it, and I guess that goes back to the whole, if you're not falling, you're not trying. I love going to events, and I really missed that in this last sort of year, 18 months. Missed seeing some of the guys that I would have bumped into at the contests and chatting. Yeah, man, like I hope we can get back to doing some BMX events soon. I miss everyone, and yeah.
Dude, same here. I haven't ridden in probably about a month now, maybe 6 weeks actually, because I haven't ridden since before Christmas. And for us right now in Ontario, we're in a lockdown still. So right after Christmas, December 26th, they put us into lockdown. So I haven't rode since then. I haven't seen any of my friends since then. The only person that I've really seen is my girlfriend who lives with me, right? So yeah, it's one of those things that I really hope we can kind of get back to normal and have a jam this year. We had one last summer, but it was like I was so strict on certain things. Like everybody had to wear a mask when we went from spot to spot because it's a street jam. And when you're riding through the streets with a crowd of, 75 people, that's going to grab a lot of attention. And especially during that time, right? At least wear a mask so people see it and say, oh, you know what? They are kind of distancing. They're wearing masks. They're doing what they're supposed to do. People still are not going to like it, but at least we're kind of trying, right? But yeah, it was just one of those things that, man, like I really hope that things get back to normal within the next little while because it's getting really difficult. A lot of people are struggling, and yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I do miss the social side of. I've still been riding a fair bit, like on my own and stuff. Like I ride on my own quite a lot, especially if I'm filming, because I don't want to drag someone to somewhere to watch me try something for 2 hours to ultimately use the first clip that I pulled. So yeah, I tend to film a lot on my own. So it's been quite productive in that sense. Like a lot of the spots that I've been able to film at, I wouldn't have been able to get in if there wasn't lockdowns going on or people on like furlough and stuff, because a lot of this stuff on industrial estates is it's normally busy. So it's been quite good in that sense. But I don't see the guys as much as I used to. And that, obviously links back into the whole calm thing, and I will get straight on a charity event as soon as I can, because I do think this is going to have been tough for a lot of people. But yeah, hang in there, guys and girls. We got this.
Definitely, man. So yeah, we'll do one more thing kind of about the accident, and then we'll move on to your DVDs and kind of some more BMX stuff. So my last question for your accident and whatnot and kind of everything that went down and what happened is, looking back, 18 years later now, and what were some of the biggest lessons and takeaways that you kind of learned from that? And what is it like being given a second chance at life, essentially?
I mean, it's when I look back, it's crazy to think how far I've come from where I started. On that bed in intensive care, telling my family that I wanted to ride bikes for a living. I wanted to be that pro BMX guy. It was all a dream. That's I guess the best way to sum it all up. Having done the paper rounds, seen the magazines, to then get in the magazines. I mean, I got a poster in the Ride mag, like that blew my mind. Like, and then when I went to Oz, the skate park, the first skate park I went to, this guy was like, "Oh, can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Yeah, man, what is it?" He's like, "You just answered it." I was like, "What are you on about?" He was like, "Is you Nik Ford? I've got a poster of you in my room." Oh, it just blew my mind.
That's wild.
Yeah, man, because like the subscriptions are worldwide, so Diamondback had paid to have this poster put in the magazine, and then off it goes. So it's mad, like to think how far it's come. Ride the urban games after having worked at it with Pashley, ride at bike shows. I won some cash at the bike show in 2013. Got in the Vital BMX highlights video, X-Up grind to bar on the rail. All these things that were like dreams, like I fucking did it. And that could sound really egotistical, but these were dreams I had, and I went after them. I didn't necessarily. I did what I had to do. I put my body on the line quite a bit. There's pins and plates and whatever in there, but I had a dream and I just went for it. And I would say the one thing I have learned, I guess, in summary from it all is if you have if you want something, just go and get it. There really is no excuse or reason why you can't do what the next guy or girl is doing. If you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to make it happen. And I had some pretty shitty cards dealt to me, but I was like, right, these are the cards I've got. Let's use them to my advantage, and I tried to spin it, and then I had to then spin it again to show that I was more than just that. But ultimately, I'm proud of where I came from in that sense. But yeah, if you want something, just go and get it. Just get it done. Do what you need to do to get it done, because I don't like what ifs. I'd rather crash and burn than wonder what if. You just go get it. Just go get it.
Fuck yeah, dude. And I think that's a great lesson for everybody to kind of take away from, if there really is something that you want to do and something that you think you can do, you just got to do it. It's just something that needs to happen. It's honestly, it's a big challenge, right? There's a lot of things that kind of come with it, but if you're willing to work through that and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get there, you will make it happen. And I think that, I think you're the perfect example of that, But yeah, so to get back on some BMX related stuff here, you actually, mentioned that you had spent some time in Australia. I believe you were there for about a year, right?
Yes. So I've been there a few times. Funny story, actually. The first time we went back in 2006, I hadn't been able to fly after my head injury because doctors were like, oh, the intracranial pressure and stuff, you've got to be so careful. And then I kind of forgot about that. And then we booked to go to Australia, and I was like, shit, I'm going to be on a plane for 24 hours. What happens if my head explodes?
Yeah.
we were on the runway, and I was like, oh, shit, I'm not meant to do it. I'm not meant to do aeroplanes. So, yeah, that was pretty crazy. But I got there. My head didn't blow up, which was sweet. Yeah, so I've been there a few times. But, yeah, moved there in 2010. So I know we'll talk about DVDs at some point. But with my second DVD, I used the money to help get me to Australia. I wanted to go out there and compete. Obviously, I wanted to do traveling and stuff, but I was keen to go and compete somewhere outside of the UK, throw myself into it. I'd done all right in this country. And again, maybe I was thinking, oh, is it because they know the backstory? Let's go somewhere where they might not know and just see how I get on. So, yeah, I moved to Oz with my wife, the girlfriend from the head injury. Yeah, she's now my wife at this point. We moved to Australia. Her sister was out there as a nurse. So we went over there because we had a bit of a connection, somewhere we could stay for a bit. So yeah, we moved out to Australia 2010. And I found there was a league run by the YMCA, a skate league. So there was skateboarding and BMX. I don't think there was scooter in it. I think it was just skateboard and BMX, possibly maybe even inline. I don't know. It was 2010. And it was a series of stops and then a grand final in Melbourne at the city park there, Riverslide. I'd already missed the first heat. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Top 20 or whatever, qualify for the finals. There's still 10, 11 heats. Let's go, So signed up, went to the first one. And I'd been to the park because you could see on the website where the stops were going to be. So you could plan to go to the park and have a ride so you knew what you're getting yourself into. And the first event, I felt like I smashed it. I was like, yeah, I really put in a good account of myself. And I finished, I think it was 9th or something. And I was like, sweet, that's, top 10 finish internationally. I'll take that. And then as the league progressed, I managed to sort of move up. I never placed outside of the top 10. I don't know if it's because maybe they thought they scored me low on the first event because, I was an English guy and they were tough on the Poms. But they warmed to me. So, yeah, as the league progressed, my results got a bit better. I started to make friends. But I never placed outside the top 10 and finished 5th overall in the South League. But I had a couple of things on the way, which is also rad. There was a skate park in Chelsea, and they held an event called the Chelsea Skate of Mind. I went to that event. It was a separate event to the league, and I won. I had an awesome ride. There was a hip in the park with like an adjacent kind of back rail, and then like some gravel outside the skate park. And I was like, okay, you can hip that, toothpick grind the back rail, and then land in the gravel outside of the skate park, like a transfer out of the park with a grind. I was like, yeah, I've got this. Didn't practice because I didn't want to give anything away. And hit it in my run first time, sweet. And that kind of set the tone for the rest of the run. I took the win. And then when the league came back there, like a couple of months later, I was like, right, let's go for that toothpick out of the skate park again. And that should hopefully, get me on the podium as opposed to fourths and fifths or whatever. I crashed for a couple of minutes, like just trying it over and over, gutted. But I did get it done in the end, and they gave me like an MVP medal. They call it best and fairest in Oz, which is like a word for MVP or man of the match. So like a sacrificed, like trying anything else. I just used my whole 2 runs to get this toothpick transfer out of the park done because I knew I could do it. Like I said, I did it when it was the Chelsea Skate Mine Festival, and it happened first time. So yeah, I was a bit gutted. I've never really been able to do that, crash something, leave it, and move on. So that's why a lot of my results have come from best trick type comps in a way.
Yeah,
that tends to lend itself to my riding more so than necessarily putting like a whole long run together. It's me being pig-headed and being like, I want this trick. And doing what I need to do to get that trick. But yeah, whilst I was in Oz, I got to meet some awesome riders. Connor Murphy, Jack Kelly. You probably know Jack Kelly from his colony stuff, like Crank Arm Grinds. And then Jake Deering, Dizzy, he rides for Division. He's sick. Like, he's such a good guy. Like, he can do a 10-foot flare, and then he can go and do crooks to bars on a rail,
That's
like,
wild, yeah.
Yeah, Diz is awesome. Like, he's such a good dude. And every time I've gone back, I've always seen Connor, Diz, seen Jack. Jack was filming one of his colony edits when I went back in 2013, so I didn't catch him then. But yeah, I always see Connor and Diz. Like, they're awesome guys. And my time in Oz wouldn't have been anything without them because Connor was learning to drive at the time. And with my UK license, I could fill out his driving book because they have to get so many hours. So, yeah, we could just take the car and like go to one of these, we could go to the events in the league and I just had to fill out his book to say we'd done, 4 hours driving or whatever. That was sick. Diz drives, so he used to drive me around. I got to see so much. And then, shout out Cooper Brownlee as well. When I was in Oz, he runs Focal Point and is like colony team manager and stuff. He gave me some shine in their magazine. I got like an interview. I think it's one of the ones over there. And he always supports my stuff. Like even now, like I'll film and edit solely in the UK. He'll still post it on Focal Point. He's such a dude. And Matt Holmes, shout out Matt Holmes, who used to run 2020 magazine. I got like a whole page feature in there too. And in Oz, they pay you. So I was stoked to be in the magazine in 2020, like a whole page doing a levitation grind down this ledge. And then Matt Holmes said, where's your invoice? I was like, what do you mean, invoice? He was like, you got to send us an invoice. I was like, why? I've just been and bought like 4 copies of your magazine. Like, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we'll give you some money for being in the magazine. I was like, what?
That's wild.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
man. Like they pay you to be in it. I was just happy to go and buy a load of copies to send to my folks and everything. It's brilliant. My time in Oz was fantastic. And like that's like one of my like happy places that I'll go to if I'm struggling a little bit or whatever. I can drift, I can daydream off to the times I had there. Memories give me the strength I need to proceed. I think that's what all this is for, Like I some people say you shouldn't look back, but looking back gives me hope for the future, I love the country, the people, the culture, even like the recycling policies. They know what they're doing there. I've got an Australia flag here.
Nice, I love it.
Yeah, I landed there on Australia Day in 2010, and because my wife's sister was already there. She'd like done the flat out for us that we were renting. We were all like Australia flag, and I've had that thing ever since. Yeah, man, it's an awesome country. I'd recommend that anyone goes and checks it out. The weather's good, so you can like ride heaps. My body hurts less because it's warm. I mean, yes, I guess you could say some of the things I've experienced in my BMX maybe have rose tinted my impressions of the country, but if something makes you feel stoked, just you got to go with that, haven't you? So yeah, no, we try and get back there as often as we can. Travis has been, little Travis, we took him. He's been to Australia, climbed the stairs all the way up to the top of the Opera House. Yeah, no, he's been, and we'll definitely be going back as soon as we can. Like, just gotta wait till things change, and also get some money saved up because it ain't cheap.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I actually have a 6% listener base, out of all of the world, right, from Australia, which is wild. That's incredible to see. So everybody that's from Australia, thank you guys for checking out the show, man. Thank you.
Shout out, fucking oath.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I love it, dude. Everybody there shreds. There's like, it honestly seems like everybody just hops on a bike there and can do like the biggest flare bar ever or like the sickest street shit, like everybody just kills it. Some of the local dudes are unreal there.
No, yeah, in that league, people would they'd hanger a rail, then they'd flare a quarter, then they'd come back and they'd 720 the box. And it's like, well, what are you, a park rider, a street rider? What, you're fucking killing it on everything. Yeah, no, they're real good. But I do think it's the weather. If it's nice all the time, you're going to get pretty good. And that's nothing against them because they're good dudes. But, you got to shovel snow sometimes, if you want to go and ride, and that does, it's going to be a bit different. But no, yeah, they're all so good. I mean, another guy that was in the league at the time, Luke Parker, he rides the Colony as well. He's on a mountain bike at the moment doing like double flips and stuff. Yeah, all the guys that were in the league went on to do like massive things. Yeah, there was some real shredders in that league, and that's kind of what gave me the idea to try and set up that league myself around the charity thing. Was like, because like I finished 5th overall, but the highest I ever got was 4th. But because I went to so many heats, I racked up the points. I stayed consistent and managed to finish 5th overall with only actually without ever getting on like the podium in the league. Just keep getting like top 10s, top 5s, kept going. Persistence pays off, and that would have worked in the sense of getting the money in for the charity event. But yeah, no, Australia is a brilliant country. It really is.
Yeah, man, they're rad there. I definitely, I'm making it a point to go there one day. I need to go and visit Australia. Dude, I want to honestly travel everywhere. I need to start doing that once, like, restrictions are gone. I really want to make a trip over to the UK, like, pretty much immediately, right? Like, I would love to be there now, but yeah, unfortunately, I'm not.
Man, if you come to the UK, you'll have to holler at me.
Definitely. Sure. Yeah, man, I got a few people that I got to talk to. It'll definitely be like, if I'm going, it's going to be something where I'm not just showing up for a week in one city. It'll be like a prolonged thing, probably, a month or 2 potentially. So yeah, man, it'll be rad if I can make that happen. Anyways, one thing that is super interesting is that you actually are part of the level 30 crew, and you're actually going to be, moving up to level 4 soon, 40 in next few years, correct?
Yeah, so I'm 37 at the moment.
Yeah.
And feeling pretty good for it, to be honest. Yeah, shout out to all the level 3 riders. There definitely is a lot more riders. If you'd have said to me, someone's 37, like, I don't know, 20 years ago, I thought that meant they were super old. But now I'm 37, it's not very old at all. I don't know if it's just because I got that reset in 2003, so I'm only actually like, I don't know, 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think I'm doing pretty good. And there's a lot of riders out there I know in their 30s that are still killing it. And I think the industry needs to, I don't want to call the industry out as such, but step up a little bit, because just because some guy's in his mid-30s doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't endorse that guy or keep him on your books, because there's so many riders still killing it. They're not, and I don't mean keep riders on your team because they used to be rad. What about the guys that are still rad? Flow them a bike or whatever, help them out, because the stuff ain't cheap. But also, I wouldn't necessarily go and buy something from a company that have got loads of kids on their team. You know, I'm going to look for a team that has riders that appeal to me. So I don't know if I had to go and get something right now. There's lots of teams out there, but like you look at what GT are doing, they've got like Brian Kaczynski, Mad Mike, but then they've also got like super starry trail guys, young and old. Like that kind of works. I always like what FBM were doing, Mutiny, but yet like just yeah. Baz Keep made this point when he was on the show. He talked about the industry supporting the older riders, not just physically in terms of here's a bike, but kind of you've also got to look after them mentally as well, because you know you can't build them up to be this superstar then just fucking drop them. You've got to be there for them thereafter. You know, if you're going to build them up to be something, when you can't just say, "Oh, you're done with now, fuck off." Like I think the industry needs to look out for and we've got more money. You'd say, you know, if a guy's 15, he ain't going to be able to afford to buy that £300 frame. But if a guy's 35, he might have the disposable income to buy that frame. So why don't you market it to that guy, or certainly at least have a rider on your team that is in that demographic to maybe appeal to that rider who might think, oh, actually, they've got a couple of guys on their team that are like level 4. You know, that's not for kids. I'll get that frame. I think there's a lot that can be done. And Neil Waddington at Ride On, he's doing heaps for the guys that are level 3, level 4, level 5. He's the one that organised that event I was telling you about that I struggled to go to and then had the win. He's doing loads of stuff. He does like online comps. They've got like a Facebook page. There's a website, and he encourages all the riders to get involved. Like, put your photos on, send us an article. You know, and I love doing things, anything. Just got to keep busy. You know, my mind is definitely better busy.
Yeah, definitely. And to mention, you know, Neil Waddington is doing a lot, you know, for the UK scene and especially the older scene all over the world, right? He's actually a listener of the show, and I recently sent him some stickers, which, you know, if anybody listening, I'll just go on a little side thing here. If anybody listening, if I've promised you stickers, they're coming. I haven't ordered them yet, but they will show up at some point. And when I do, I will send them out. I've got a big list with like 60 people on there that want stickers. So don't worry about it. It'll show up one day. I'm sorry for the delay. Things have been a little tight, but to go back here, Neil has done so much, man. He's an incredible dude who's doing a lot for that community. And I do plan on having Neil on to talk about, you know, the older scene and why it's important to not forget about these older dudes who, you know, like you were saying, we need to focus on the past. We need to focus on the future, but we also need to make sure that these guys are still in our memory and still in our mindset. And I think that if older riders didn't have that thing in their head, right, that's almost like a ticking clock that's saying, hey, your time's up, right? You're getting there. You're turning 30 soon. You're not going to be pro anymore. Like, it's just not true, right? There's so many dudes out there, and I definitely think there could be more. There's a lot of dudes out there who still shred and are, you know, past 30, past 40. My dad is 47, and he is still killing it on a skateboard. Like, you know, snowboards all the time, skateboards. I think that realistically, the time that you stop riding is really when you start to deteriorate, right? And when you stop doing these activities and whatnot is when things start to slow down for you as a person. And there's a dude, I think his name is also Cam, I'm forgetting, but he is like a local around here. He's like 62 and still rides race bikes and still like kills it in local race competitions.
See, that's the thing. If I was a company, I'd want my bike or t-shirt on that guy. Like,
definitely.
You know?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I like the point.
I think there needs to be, like, in the contests, I don't like to use the word like veterans or masters or anything, but you've got like your AM categories, your pro categories. There needs to be like another category, and you've got your women's category. Yeah, there needs to be another category for like level 3, call it masters, whatever. But you know, because I still need to be competing because I think it keeps me young, it keeps me motivated. I need to have a busy mind. But yeah, riders definitely, are still killing it in their 30s, and they should be allowed to ride the same course that the 20-year-old gets to ride. So yeah, definitely more contests to include, like a overs category for sure, because it's such a buzz. It's such a buzz, and why should someone not be allowed to have that buzz just because they're a bit older than someone else?
Definitely, man. I fully agree with you on that. And yeah, like you were saying, dude, it's really important that we keep these people around and that these people kind of stay within our community. And I think that Sebastian Keep made a really good point of that, especially as someone who, is been in BMX for a long time. Sebastian has been riding for a very long time. He's a legend in the scene. And yeah, it is just one of those things that once we get older, like, I don't know, I do wish, and like, kind of to go off of that, you made a really good point there about having people who are older on your team, right? You aren't going to want to support Fiend because Fiend only has younger dudes and Garrett, right? Like, those dudes all kill it. They're all unreal, but it is one of those things that, like, with GT, you do see a very well-rounded team. You have Brian Shakinski, you have Mad Mike, you have all these other trail dudes and whatnot. And I think that's really important, right? Like, with Fiend, it's kind of all their branding and whatnot, but when it comes to their like team, they're all kind of younger. Like, I know Garrett, he's a little bit older now, but he's still like unreal, still in the game. But yeah, I definitely agree. We need to sponsor older riders and keep them in the scene.
For sure. And also by keeping them around, that's where the history is. If you get rid of all the older guys and stuff, it's you lose so much, and the older guys can teach the younger guys stuff, like, or maybe don't post that. They can give them some tips and things, like you have them on there as like mentors or whatever, they've been there, done it, they've got the scars to prove it. Just, yeah, I don't know. I certainly look to brands that have got a well-rounded team of different riders, different ages. Because, like I say, my influences are quite wide and varied, but ultimately kind of most at home doing grinds. But I love to watch people ride trails, and with the whole the 4As and stuff growing up, like, yeah, I do enjoy a good table, but I do mine with 4 pegs.
Yeah, and I do think Fit actually is a great example of a company that has kind of, still kept up with their older riders. Like, they still sponsor Van Homan, they still sponsor Brian Foster. They're just on their Legends team, but it would be cool to see them still continue to get a paycheck, right? And that's one of the things that I don't know if Van is still getting a paycheck. I don't know what the situation is with Fit, but when Sean McIntosh was getting a little older, they talked, like, they sat him down and they said, hey man, like, we got to make room for newer guys. So we're going to be taking your paychecks. And, I don't know. That's just one of those things that's like, I don't know. You've done so much for a company, right? Like, Sean McIntosh was definitely one of those dudes that he fucking put his life on the line, dude. And when he rode, it was bad ass, dude. That guy is unreal. And like, to be repping a company like Fit throughout the whole thing, and then also to come out with one of the greatest video parts of all time with Fit, with the Holy Fit, is like, dude, you gotta kind of keep them relevant. You gotta keep them there. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't run the business. I don't know the numbers, so who knows?
No, yeah, but I mean, whether if the paycheck's got to stop, fine. But you still give them product. Still shout them out. They've paid their dues, and they shouldn't have to be scrabbling around for bike parts. Not saying that though, my current bike, I got for £15 second hand.
Yeah,
because I bent my frame, and I couldn't afford to get a new one. So I got one off eBay for 15 quid. Mongoose, shout out Mongoose. Yeah, £15 my bike cost, which is probably like, I don't know what, $40.
probably 40. Yeah.
And I'm riding that, and I love it.
Yeah, man, that's a crazy deal on a frame. That's awesome. Yeah. So something that you had mentioned in your original email to me that I really kind of gravitated towards was the fact that you had filmed 2 BMX DVDs. And for, listeners of this show, they know that I've filmed 2 as well. So to kind of, really hear that is really sick, right? I love hearing that people have kind of made their own thing to kind of show the world their community, right? And like DVDs are the perfect example of that. So first of all, you started out with Unsung. So at this point, before Unsung even starts, were you into filming at all, or was it kind of something that you decided to pick up and do because you saw all the riders in the area and you said, hey man, this has got to be documented?
Okay, so with filming, after my head injury, I really enjoyed looking at photos of myself and my friends. So I wanted to make something because of my memory being so hazy. I wanted to make something so not only myself but like all my friends had something that they could look back on as a time capsule of where we were at in that moment. And I chose the title Unsung because I knew so many guys that were killing it, but I didn't feel they were getting the shine that I thought that they deserved. So yeah, I called it Unsung and made sure everyone in it was rad, and they are. And it was filmed. Well, I went to uni and did a broadcasting degree, and was keen to use the skills that I'd learned. But also, whilst at uni in Falmouth, I was keen to borrow all the equipment that I could borrow from uni to film. So some of the clips are filmed on real nice cameras, and then some of them are filmed like kind of almost on a flip phone or whatever. It was a culmination of clips, but I just wanted to get something out there that showcased all of the guys I was riding with and kind of give them like a bit of a thanks, because they all did heaps for me when I was real poorly, and they were real good for getting me where I wanted to be. And I just wanted something to have in case I forgot everything, again. I just wanted something that I could have to showcase stuff. And the opening section from Ed Tongue, which I can see there, like I met Ed when I was at Pashley. He was on the team, and he worked in the shop with me sometimes when he wasn't off in America or Canada doing Red Bull events and stuff, like, and just he became a friend as opposed to me being like little Nick, the team mechanic or the go get the sandwiches. We started hanging out and stuff, and it was really inspiring to have a friend such as Ed. I mean, he had a section in cassette, the Ride UK video. That's awesome. That was all filmed at our local skate park in Stratford, like all the park shots. We did some street stuff for it as well. But yeah, man, he really inspired me. I don't really claim to ride anything like him, but just having a pro like to hang around with, you're gonna up your game naturally, because he's a really talented bike rider and a good dude. But all those Pashley guys were super inspiring. But yeah, his section's so good. So you could drop it now and it would still be like awesome. Shout out Ed. I mean, look at that. He didn't even need to do that for the setup, but he did.
Yeah.
He's a really good rider. But yeah, it was filmed on all sorts of different cameras. I got myself a good camera towards the end. This little bad boy, Panasonic
Nice.
GS, what's it called? NVGS 500 with a Leica wide-angle lens on it.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, man, it was like 3C CD. It was. So I got like a good camera towards the end of it, but a lot of the clips were filmed on whatever we could get our hands on. It was a little kind of, I guess the punk ethic came out. It was quite DIY in that sense, we just, oh, you got a camera? Your mum's got a camera? Get it, let's go. And so, yeah, there was a real range of stuff that we filmed that one with. And it sold real well. I got like 26, I think it was, 26 stockists. I had 1,000 pressed. They're all gone. I got like a small handful. It was massive. I got like, it was in all the custom riders, Crucial, all like the sort of big UK shops, and then some of your smaller local bike shops. It sold well on eBay. It was a real. I had to buy a license for the music So some of the money obviously coming back helped recuperate some of those sort of things. Because it was real difficult to find someone that would press it, because I wanted like an image on the disc and stuff, but not just like a paper print image on
Right.
the disc. And all the companies I approached were like, "Oh, you got to have like this PRS music license before we'll even touch it." So I was like, okay. So I then sourced some music for free, which was one way around it. But then I couldn't get enough free music or enough free music that I liked. So I had to buy this license, by which point I'd already cut some of the sections to the free music. On the free music, right? This was so awesome. Simon Tabron, shout out Simon Tabron, gave me some of his own personal music to
Wow.
use. Yeah, like, it blows my mind. Like, where I was at uni in Falmouth, Mount Hawke Skate Park in Cornwall was like his local when he was here in the UK, and he was just a dude. Like, he would talk to you like we're talking to you. It didn't matter that he was like Simon Tabron, and he was so supportive of just anyone who was trying to do anything. He was like, "Yeah, here, have some music." And there's one song with TJ Lavin that he just gave us. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, man, that was mad. That was like that. He hadn't even seen what I was filming. Like, but he was just like, "Yeah, have some songs." Yeah, it could have been 100% shit, the stuff that I was going to put his song over, but he was just so up for supporting anyone doing anything. That yeah, he gave me some music, so that was rad. But yeah, I got the license for the music so I could get it pressed. I had a Mac that I had to pay for that I bought to cut it on. So like, yeah, I sold 1,000 copies. I didn't make like masses of money, but I did buy an old Beamer. I got an old BMW 3 Series with some of the money. That thing was cool. But I kept getting pulled in it. Like, it was a youngish kid in like a wannabe gangster car. So I sold that. And then yeah, the second one, what next was what got me the money to go traveling.
Yeah, definitely. And, just to kind of show the video here. So this is what the DVD cover looks like. And then we have the backside here. And then I believe you signed the disc on this one, which was rad. So yeah, you did. So, yo, Cam, stay rad. Nik Ford 13. Look at that. Yeah, man, my BMX DVD collection is very, very lacking, but I'm very stoked to have a copy of Unsung in there.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
so to kind of talk a little bit more about Unsung here, there was a few things I just wanted to mention. So in there, I noticed that you had some music from Bayside. I'm a huge fan of Bayside. Was that something that you had to actually pay for to use?
Yeah, so with I some of the riders, like, I asked them what songs they'd like to use, and yeah, the Bayside one was one that I didn't contact the band. Like, that was one I had to pay for with my license, so the company would press it on that one. Like I say, it was Tabron's music was free. Stop Out, the rap music, that was free, like British rap music. And then She Makes War, which is in Ed's section. That was a free one, but everything else came under the music license.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I would have liked every rider to be able to pick their own song, but initially the plan was to get the free music. It was only when it kind of got to production stage that I couldn't get all the music for free.
Yeah, and then going from there, there's a clip of somebody with a parking boot on their car, and they're pulling it off, it looks like. What is the story behind that? And while you tell us that, I got to try and find the clip because I totally forgot to write down the timestamp of when it happens. So, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we'd gone down to London to ride some street for the video, and we'd parked the cars up in this housing estate, and we were late back to the car. So yeah, fine, give us a ticket. Well, we get there, and they haven't even wrote me a ticket. They've just put the clamp straight on my car, and I'm like, hang on a minute. So I was like, let's get the camera out, got the camera out. I was like, mate, you can't give me a ticket. Sorry, you can't put a clamp on my car if you haven't given me a ticket, because the way it works is ticket first, well, wait a few minutes, then put a ticket on, then wait a few minutes, then put the clamp on. But for them to have put the clamp on before the ticket means that they were waiting there to put that clamp on. We were only a couple of minutes late back to the car, so yeah, okay, 5 minutes, I'll take the ticket, whatever. But the fact that they'd put the clamp on before the ticket, I was like, I'm not having this. And at the time, my mate who was there trying to take it off, Adam Pope, he's like he works in car garages and stuff, so he was like, yeah, we'll just take the wheel off. But we managed to get it fine. We didn't have to pay any money. Like, we got it all sorted and stuff, because we were just like, mate, we've called you out on this one. We've got a camera rolling. But yeah, we were late back to the car. So yeah, they'd put that on there. I think it's in the end. I think I put it in like maybe the credits bit. But yeah, on that, actually talking of that car, my Golf, VW Golf, it was when I went to Urban Games in 2005, we lost the car. This is the memory coming into play. We got down to Clapham Common and was super stoked to be at the Sprite Urban Games. That I just parked the car in a housing estate, and me and my mate Adam Gold, we like just rode from the housing estate to the contest, did the contest, super stoked. Afterwards, I finished 14th, yo. Then contest finished, and I was like, shit, where's the car? We spent 2 hours riding around London trying to find the car. And bearing in mind, Adam is younger than me by 5 years, so he was like, I don't know, he would probably have been, he'd have been like, I don't know, 16 years old or something. And then me, like 21, we were just lost in London. Like, where's the car? Like, no idea at all. And I don't know if it was the memory, probably was my memory, but we were just super stoked to be there. And then, yeah, I had no recollection as to where the car was. Yeah, that car definitely saw its fair share of adventures, that's for sure. And like, yeah, another one with that car, I broke my leg in 2007 on the 13th of January at the same skate park where I hit my head. And I drove home, like with the broken leg. I had to get like lifted out of the bowl. But the car had like a manual choke. So my leg was broken, but it didn't matter. So we got to the traffic lights. I could just pull the manual choke out, and the car would like drive itself off again, so I could like fumble it into the next gear. Yeah, man, that car was awesome.
That's awesome, dude. That's hilarious. Yeah, just to hear that story is rad, dude. Yeah, it's so weird that they tried to give you a like parking boot before they gave you a ticket. You know, that's some bullshit right there.
Yeah, man, he was obviously had to hit X amount of cars that day or something to get his bonus, but I wasn't having it.
Yeah, right. So we will check out your part here, and then we'll move on to what's next. So your opening clip was a wild ice pick bail, and while we talk about this, I'll have it playing in the background. So yeah, what happened during this ice pick bail?
So I'd already double pegged it, and I'd got in my head that I could ice pick it, because I could ice pick like flat rails. So I was like, oh, the next logical step would be ice pick down this rail. It was quite steep as well. So I kind of thought, you can almost kind of ride off the stairs, and as long as you lean back enough, like, you'll be sweet. It didn't quite work out. And there's Martin. He was my best man at my wedding. Yeah, the one I got was okay. It was okay. I'd like to have got it a bit cleaner. But yeah, it's not always the case. And I've always liked the riders that you can kind of see are holding on a little bit. I don't know, if it's too polished, it doesn't appeal to me. You want to see someone who's clearly trying, and that's me.
Yeah, definitely. And then there was a really clean bar to fakie transfer from a quarter pipe into the bank. This thing was just so good, and I'm not sure if it's already passed or if it's coming up here, but yeah, dude, the clip was so clean. Yeah, how did that kind of come around? And that was like just such a great clip, dude. I love it, honestly.
Oh, thanks, man. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. There we go.
That worked out well. I was keen to try and get some clips filmed at my local skate park in Stratford, and that was one that, yeah, just set up nicely for it. That ended up being a shot in one of the Diamondback catalogs, that bar fakie transfer. Yeah, it's just nice just to give it a boost.
Definitely, dude. There's going to be a clip in a second here from a blue rail, and it kind of looks like your knee gave out or something when you were trying to pegs it. Did you ever go back for that blue rail? And yeah, what was the outcome after that clip?
Okay, so it's actually like a pedal crux.
Okay.
And it was just too long. I just washed out and gave my knee a harsh smash, and that kind of put an end to that session. But I did. Yeah, here we go. I went in on it for a couple of hours, and yeah, that was the best I got. So I put it in there because I invested quite a lot of my body in that. There's the Sprite Urban Games, which is in the background. That big rail there that at the Sprite Urban Games that no one really touched, and they didn't think I'd do it. And I said, "Oh, I can do it." I think that was why I got a good placing. But on that, the night before, I 360'd the spine and landed on my face, and like my eye was pretty much closed during my whole run at the Urban Games.
Oh my God.
Yeah, not the best preparation. And I learned in my later years not to ride a couple of nights before a contest that you're really keen for, because I'm a bit too loose to know that it's going to go well.
Right. Yeah. So when did you learn X up grind to bar? Because that is just such a wild trick that you have been doing like all over the place, right? It's one of your best combos in my mind.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I think it would have been about 2006 that I first got on that. I'd been doing X up grinds probably since about 2003, maybe. But then I was doing like feeble grind to bar, pegs to bar. I was like, logical step is going to be X up grind to bar as the next one to learn. So yeah, I was stoked to learn that. Yeah, I think probably 2006. Yeah, kind of made a point of trying to get one done every session because it feels so rad. But if you leave it for a little bit, it can get quite scary, especially doing them on rails. Like the commitment when you hop into that rail to land in X, yeah, if you don't keep up with it regularly, yeah, it can start to be a bit of a mind fuck, that one, that's for sure. And that's why I was super stoked to get it done at the cycle show in 2013 on the rail in front of loads of people and take some cash home after having been working at the cycle show for Pashley in '99 to be there in 2013 and do X up grind bar on the rail was something that I was super stoked on.
Have you ever considered doing a bar into like X up grind, bar out? That would be incredible, dude.
Yeah, no, for sure. I have got some stuff filmed, which is new for me, that I'm kind of sitting on at the moment, that involves X up grinds and stuff. Because of being from the mid school, if you will, I like to film towards stuff. I don't like to necessarily put all my best stuff on Instagram. So yeah, I've got some stuff for my next project and you're ready to go. But then you see someone else post it and you're like, oh man, I filmed that like 9 months ago. But because I didn't put it on Instagram, no one's seen it. I've got some stuff ready to go. Some X up grind variations for sure. My last edit I did like one-handed X up grind to bar. And I've got for my next one, I've got now a no-handed X up grind to bar.
Wow, that'd be incredible.
Yeah. No, I got that good to go, and I was going to drop it in the feast thing, but yeah, I didn't make finals. So I was third in the fan vote though, and then got mugged off by the judges, and they put me in 14th. But yeah, I had some stuff good to go for the final, but it didn't happen. But yeah, I'm sitting on that, and I've got it, and I'll use it soon.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure how the fees contest went, right? Like, I don't really know how they were doing it. It was something that I thought was really interesting and that we definitely needed this past year. But yeah, I didn't really understand the full premise of it. I know that it was kind of a fan voted thing, but then there was judges that would, I guess, pass you to the next round, which kind of is weird. I thought it would be like a fan vote thing for everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's a real good concept. Like, love it because of being a rider that sometimes might take, an hour to pull it clean enough that I would like or whatever. I thought it was a real good concept that an edit will play to my strengths, that I can go out and get the clips. I spent a lot of time getting it right, making sure I had everything in that minute. I went on the Universal website, downloaded the music as they told you to. Yeah, and I was third in the fan vote, and I thought, I'm definitely going to... I kind of started to get a bit carried away, all the lads were saying, you'll be in finals. It was top 8 made finals. So I thought, right, third in fan vote, even if I get scored low by the judges, I can't drop out of the top 8, because surely the top 3 have got to make it to the final, because that's what the public have said, that, fan vote, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I finished 14th. They dropped me like 11 places, so I didn't make finals. I don't understand. But yeah, I had a load of stuff that I'd been sort of filming for that. But yeah, the concept is great, especially for like real street riders that sometimes might have to graft for a clip, you know. Yeah, the whole edit online definitely is a good idea. I don't know, I just felt a bit mugged off by the judges for having dropped me so many places. I obviously wasn't what they wanted. But then what's the point in having a fan vote if ultimately they're going to put the top 8 that they want anyway? You know, it's false hope.
Yeah, I feel like the fan vote should have been something like X Games Real BMX Street, where they have judges who pick the top, 3, and then afterwards they do a fan vote, so anybody can win that. Even the people who were in the top 3 could take home the fan vote as well. Yeah, that's just my opinion. I'm like, to do it as like, the fans can vote and then also judges vote after doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like it has to be something where you either have like, you have top 3 plus like favorite, fan favorite, or you have, just top 3. Like you can't have something like that. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, so to talk about your ender here in Unsung, it was a steep double peg grind down a pretty big 14 stair. So yeah, when did you find this spot and when did you decide that it was finally time to commit to trying it?
So this was in Falmouth, or like a village just outside of Falmouth called Penryn. The wooden rail is also in my section. This one, that was in Penryn at the old college. Bit of a nosedive, but it's 2007. It's all good.
It's allowed.
And this rail was massive, and I actually, I took it real hard the first time. So the first time, I kind of I didn't get the back end to go over. I pretty much toothed down it all and just died into the bottom of the rail. So that actually was after the crash. I had to get back up and stick it, and my hop's not the best, so I have to sort of gap out into stuff. And obviously when you're gapping out into stuff, there is the slight risk that you might have got your angles a bit wrong, and you might not lock in properly. And yeah, that's what happened on the first one. Even the second one, you can see the front peg goes down and the back end's still like hanging around up there. It was, kind of a hop and hope to some extent. Yeah, it was big. But if you're filming for a video, you gotta give it some, haven't you?
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
You dropped off a roof into a ramp.
Yeah, that was my buddy Dan's backyard. That was like one of my favorite little clips that I have. In my first video, there's this huge rail hop that I did as my ender, and that was fucking terrifying, man. And at that time, I was 19, so I think I had just turned 19 or maybe 18. I can't remember. But either way, I know that it was like, I was fucking stoked on that. I did it the day before I think it was 19th birthday. But yeah, dude, it was one of those things that like definitely you have to just go for it and you have to put in the effort and really hope for the best, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and to talk about like bailing and whatnot. So on my first video's ender, that was first try, like huge rail hop, and then for the last one where I jumped off of Dan's roof, that one was actually second try, the clip.
What?
Yeah, so when I fell, I actually like spent like 20 minutes up there just trying to kind of line things up, trying to figure out how much speed I was going to need because the roof is super steep. So when you're up there, you put your feet on the pedals and there's no turning back. Like I have brakes, but there's nothing you can do. You're just going to drop right into it. So when I did, the first time I actually landed and I was a little too back heavy and I looped out when I hit the flat bottom. And then the next time I just went up, like literally went up within 30 seconds of falling and pulled it. And I slid right into his fence, which was hilarious. Broke the fence a little bit. Sorry, Dan. But yeah, it was rad to get that done.
It's a sick clip, man. It's a sick clip. And with it being like the ender, like there might be some clips in there that people might think was more of an ender, but to me, I don't know, the ender was always not necessarily your best clip, but something you had to battle for, like what was the hardest for you? And I really, really hurt myself on that crash, but I got up and got it done. So that's why that was my end clip, But yeah, man, that roof drop into that ramp is sick.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was by far one of my favorite clips that I've ever filmed of myself. So, yeah, to get that done was a lot of fun. And I think too, and I'm sure you would agree, but when you're filming other people, right? Like when you do a video and you're filming all of your friends, you're filming all these people, and they're all getting these crazy clips, you really want to try and put in like the effort to make sure that your stuff isn't just thrown in there because you made the video, but it's thrown in there because it's good and that it actually meets the quality. And I think that your video part definitely, stands the test of time and definitely really makes sense being in Unsung, So props to
Thanks,
you.
man.
Yeah. But yeah, so what's next was the second video that you guys actually put out. And with what's next, how long did it take to film? Because I know that you did an interview with I forget who it was, but you were talking about Unsung, and then afterwards you had mentioned that you planned on having the next video out within about 9 months. But how did that work out? Did you end up putting it out within that time frame, or did you have to wait a little
No,
bit?
it ended up being about 18 months.
Yeah.
So Unsung came out sort of 2007, like the end of 2007, and then What Next came out Halloween 2009, which gave me like about 3 months before I went to Oz to sort of try and shift all the copies. What Next, I had 600 copies pressed, so not as many. I still had to buy the same music license. But yeah, I only got 600 made because I'd noticed that things were changing and more people were putting stuff on YouTube, stuff that was going straight to YouTube. But I still wanted to make the sequel because everyone was asking what's next, and that's where the name came from. It's like, here you are, this is what's next. You asked, this is it. And with this one, it was less bro-cam. I tried to make it a bit more of a professional production. I used my Pashley connections again and I spoke to Kai and Toby and Leo, and they've all got stuff going on with United and Red Bull and whatever, but they still helped me out by letting me go and film them for a section in the video. Simon Tabron, who gave me music for the first one, he's in this one as well. What Next? We went through on my stag do to Mount Hawk skate park. And Simon put on a show. He didn't need to do what he was doing, but I was there with the camera. He's just a good guy. He got into it and put down a couple of heavy runs. And everyone on the stag do was buzzing that they got to see Tabron do his thing. I just and obviously wanted to make sure that there was the riders that were in the first one that still rode, that they got in the second one. I was riding for Diamondback at this point in What Next. So Dan and Del Shepherd, they had a section. They had the opening section because they were my teammates on Diamondback. It was just like the three of us for a time. And I wanted to make sure they were in the video because they were rad dudes, and I just wanted to support them and support my sponsors. Ben Suter had the closing section in Unsung, and Ben Suter also had the closing section in What Next. Super underrated dude. Off the back of Unsung, he got hooked up with Mutant Bikes, but I don't think the sponsorship life was for him as such. He's just like a good rider. He didn't want to be doing all the hashtags and whatever. But shout out to all the riders that were in it. But Dan and Del, they were killing it. They were young guys when I filmed this. Del still rides. He was with Hoffman last time, I remember. I'm not sure if he's got a bike sponsor at the moment, but they were real good dudes. They were, and their dad was real sound as well. Spent a lot of time with them during my time with Diamondback. They moved on, and I stayed with the team as it sort of changed. But they moved on. So they went to Hoffman Bikes, I think. They're in that. There's the Fortes, Tabron, and then all my mates got sections in there. But like I say, I tried to make this one a little bit more of a production in that sense, and I used post-it notes because I didn't really like the titles that I had. So the post-it notes kind of keeps with the whole sort of punk DIY ethics of doing things. But I just thought it was a cool little feature to use post-it notes for each person's section as opposed to Times New Roman in the bottom corner. So yeah, I tried to keep like have a style throughout. I do like a dissolve, especially if you're using a tripod. Dissolve between clips. It's something I've done self-filmed. I mean, Jonah Lindbergh's section "Drop the Hammer" was really inspiring for me. And lately, a lot of the stuff that Elstrom's doing is self-filmed. Tripod. There's some handheld stuff. But yeah, a lot of my own clips tend to come off a tripod. But no, Dan and Dell's section is real good. So with the money for this one, kind of covered my license and took the money to Oz to get out there and sort of tick that off the dream list.
Hell yeah. So with this video, I really wanted to mention the fact that your filming and your production side of things and your riding all were way like better, in my opinion, than the first video. The first video is still a great video, a great watch, but you can really see that the production side of things, you really started to take a little bit more seriously in this video. And I do actually really like the post-it note idea. I think like little things like that are so creative. And even on the back of the video, you did the same thing, right? Like, it's just one of those things that I really enjoy. So good job, man. And another thing I wanted to point out was in the intro, we see this cover, and with it, we actually see you kind of, I believe it's you dressed in the same clothing essentially, and then getting up and walking away. That kind of stuff really adds to the video in an interesting way that I don't think people really, like people that aren't in like, the film industry, or people that don't really understand like what goes into these videos. That is something that they would kind of just see and they'll notice it. But it's something that like will kind of trick their brain, right? Like it's something super interesting. I like it, at least,
Thanks, man. I say I did the broadcasting degree, and I kind of see things, or I guess it gave me some ideas. And I always try and like use a few techniques or tell a bit of a story, especially in my own edits that I do now. I always try and tell a bit of a story, or certainly pick a song that tells a story of where I was at during that time of filming. I like to edit a bit on the lyrics, so there'll be some sort of, if there's something that's kind of relevant to me or my headspace at that time, I'll try and have something that shows that visually. Kind of, I guess a little bit say what you see, but I do like to try and tell a story. And the clip that blurs into it, I was working like an office job, which is pretty terrible. And then like dissolve out of my office chair and appear by the wall and underline what's next. And I took the summer off to finish the video, and this is my mate Tom's section in the background now. He did some graphics for his opener for me to put the post-it note on. He actually did the front cover for Unsung as well. Real creative dude, good rider as well. Man, I wanted just to make sure all the boys are in it, and again, something to look back on, in case I forgot everything again or whatever. It's just nice to have these time capsules, because you can look back and be like, yeah, we did it. Man, like, that's the old Stratford skate park there in the background. That place was sick. We've got a concrete kind of version of it now, but it was on like a floodplain, so the wood just got too expensive for the council to keep sorting out. But man, even if as bad as the skate park might get, I'll always go there because it's like some sort of Mecca pilgrimage I'll go to. It's just my body feels at ease there. I've gone there forever. I'll always go there. I love that place, man. Shout out Stratford skate park.
Yeah, I feel very similar about my local park, the Odd, and it's just one of those things that the park is like so terrible compared to the parks that we get today. Like at least in Ontario, right? We have some incredible parks around here, and something that like is just so interesting about this park is that it's so old. Like it's over 20 years old at this point, and the bowl in it is like a super old bowl with no coping, and it's kind of like a flyout bowl more than anything, but it's just such a fun little park, and like you can go there and never have an issue with like skaters. You never have an issue with too many, like I guess lately there's been a lot of kids that go there, but I don't know, man. We go there on a Sunday morning and we just sit in a corner, drink a couple beers, hang out and ride the park. Like I've thrown jams there. I honestly kind of want to see if the city would allow us to build a like a community a community barbecue pit, just so that like, you know, anybody that knows what they're doing can go in and kind of hang out for the afternoon, do whatever. They do that in Montreal. There's a park that's completely DIY called P45, and they have a barbecue pit there. So like, if you're not an idiot and you know what you're doing, you can actually go and like cook some food for everybody while you're there.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's just something that I'm like, dude, nothing goes better than like beers, burgers, hot dogs, or sausages with BMX riding. Like, you know, you're sitting there at the skate park, you got some dude doing a big table over the hip, you're eating a good old Cowboy Dean hot dog. That's a reference to Dean Dickinson, if you know him.
Yeah, he's a good rider, man.
Yeah, he's unreal. Yeah, so to go on what's next here, let's talk a little bit about your video part in what's next. So I'm going to pull it up, but there's a clip about 40 seconds in, and it's you riding this full pipe. And that was actually one of the photos that we used for the promo for this. So when did you first find this spot, and did you end up kind of building the little DIY thing at the bottom of it, or was that already there?
No, so that was already there. It's in Bristol, in a place called Fish Ponds. Not an actual fish pond. It's a place in Bristol called Fish Ponds near the Morrison supermarket. I don't remember how I found it. I like to go places and check out stuff. I just kind of stumbled across it, and I knew that it would make for a sick picture. It ended up being a poster. The poster that was in the ride mag that I got was this shot. That photo that's in the promo of me on the full pipe subway thing was shot by Joe Coles, who was the Diamondback photographer at the time. And I knew it would look good, and I knew it would show Diamondback like differently to maybe how people might think of Diamondback, because Dan and Del are pretty good at flips and whips and spins. But when I joined the team, I was joining the team to kind of to round it in a way, to bring more of the street style. So I thought, this full pipe will look sick for an advert. And then when they made that their poster, here it is, yeah, man. When they made that their poster, I was buzzing. It was in the Ride to Glory issue as well, so it was one of the issues that like everyone bought. And it was big poster. But yeah, no, it's a sick full pipe. But I can't remember how I stumbled across it. Just on a mission. Like, I like to go out and find stuff.
Yeah, man, it's such a wild clip. I really enjoyed that. I love a good full pipe. It's one of my favorite things to go out and try and find and ride, and it's something that unfortunately in Kitchener we actually don't really have any. But like the closest one is it's about an hour away. And then yeah, there's some other ones that are really good. Like obviously you've seen any footage from Montreal, I would assume, and they have the Big O there, which is like a full pipe sort of thing that's kind of like an oval shape, and then they've got these little quarter pipes at the end. It's really popular in like street skating and whatnot. If you're into skateboarding at all, they always have clips of them riding this spot, which it's incredible. Any kind of full pipe thing is honestly one of the best things you can go and find to ride, in my opinion, at least.
No, for sure. I love a full pipe. I got in 2013, I got the front cover of the Diamondback catalog.
Yeah,
another full pipe. Yeah, man, I love things like that. Just going out and finding it and riding. Yeah, man, love the search. Love a full pipe.
Hell yeah. So so there's some other stuff in here that was really good. There's a pedal crook at 12:02 in the video, and it looked really rad. I'm gonna pull it up. Here's actually that photo there of you riding that. Yeah, let me pull up this thing quickly. Okay, I think it's right after this. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, you held that thing, man. It looked sick. I love it.
Yeah, the rail actually bent quite a bit, but I was so keen to get a pedal crook in this section after having that crash, the one in Unsung, you know, the blue one where I landed on my knee. I was like, I've got to get like a pedal crook in my section. So yeah, that was a good one. I was stoked to make happen for this section.
Yeah, definitely, dude. And then your ender and what's next was this huge double peg grind down this big green rail. So tell us about this setup, man, because it looks perfect. You know, the clip actually, the way it like comes about, by the way, with your footage and the way that you've edited it, it looks amazing. I really enjoyed that. With the for anybody that's listening and can't actually see this, it's basically you standing at the top of the rail and then you fade, but the rest of the clip stays there, and then you hit the rail right after that. So I'll pull that up just in a second here. But yeah, tell us about that clip, man.
Yeah, for sure. So this is the whole self-filmed. The benefit of using a tripod is you can use the dissolve. So I had the camera on the tripod so I could film myself staring down the rail, which some people say you're meant to just hit them, but I have to talk myself into some things. So I used me looking at it, and because you're on the tripod, everything else could stay the same, so I could dissolve between the two shots. 20 stair rail, and I believe that was filmed in 2009. It was not as nice as it looks, to be honest. The run-up, it was actually an old school. So the old school had gone, but the rail was still left. So it was like a building site that I pretty much had to ride out of to this rail. And at the time, it was when KHE were making our bikes, so I had a free coaster. So there wasn't much engagement, like because of the slack. So I couldn't pedal properly. I just had to kind of chuck myself down it. I crashed for, I don't know, like an hour maybe. Just trying, landing on stairs, going over. But I hadn't done anywhere near that many stairs. Like I think the most stairs I've done was maybe like that steep 14 one in Unsung. I was like, yeah, 20 stair rail. This is 2009. This is good. I've got to get it done. So yeah, no, I just persisted with it. I'd said to Fee, like my wife, I was going out and I wasn't coming back home till I got the rail or couldn't walk anymore. Like I was really committed. Like it was, yeah. I'd not said goodbye, you know what I mean? But I was like, I've got to go and do this, and I'll be back in some form. And yeah, she was gone then. You know, I don't want you here if you're going to be just thinking about that. Go get it done. Yeah, I probably crashed for like an hour. But yeah, I was stoked to get it done.
There we go. I was on mute. Yeah, so a good friend of mine actually was very similar in the way that he would go and ride these big rails and often would go and do it like by himself, self-filmed. And, you know, sometimes not the greatest decision. He got pretty hurt the one day. But yeah, like realistically, if you got to get it done and no one else is there, just give it a go. Keep your phone in your pocket, you know.
Well, I had like Ben was there with me. Ben
Okay.
Suter was there with me. But I just didn't want to risk him not pressing record. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not nothing. That's nothing against Ben because he's a very organised dude. But I didn't want any bro cam when felt like I was putting my life on the line. I was like, if I put it on the tripod, and then maybe Ben, you can just keep it on the tripod. Make sure the tripod doesn't fall over. Like I'll just leave it rolling. You know. I didn't want to risk it being a thumb coming in the corner of the shot or it being someone's shoes on the one because I knew I was going to have to go into war on this thing. I just wanted to know the camera. And then if it was crap, it was my fault because I set the camera up, you know? But on that, I do have my wife's phone number wrote inside my helmet just in case like anything goes wrong. And I think a lot of people could do that or should do that, you know? Just because, not even just like for BMXing, just if you're riding your bike down the shops and someone hits you and you didn't go out, you just left your phone at home because you're just going to go and grab like some milk or whatever, and you get hit, you should definitely put someone's phone number on the inside of your helmet.
That is actually a really smart idea. I've never thought of that before. That's a good idea, man. Yeah, so moving on from that, something that you kind of mentioned there earlier was that Simon Tabron actually had a section in this video, and to see how insane this dude is riding, it is literally like one of the craziest things ever. He's riding as if it's his X Games, you know, like course run. The like one thing that he has been training for all year, and it's just like an average session, it looks like. So yeah, I'll play this, and tell us about how that came about, and what are some of the craziest things about filming with Simon.
So when I was at uni in Cornwall, Mount Hawk was the local indoor skate park, and obviously he was there regularly training for things like the X Games and stuff, and we just got to hang out with him, and he was like a real humble dude, and I think he appreciated the fact that we spoke to him like he was just like another BMX rider, you know, and he spoke to us like we were just another BMX riders. I mean, look what he's doing; it's crazy, but there was no ego there at all. He was, and I think he liked the fact that we weren't necessarily scared to talk to him either. You know, he was just one of the guys. And when we came through on my stag do, these are professional guys. They just wanted to put on a show, be an entertainer. But yeah, everyone on the stag do was buzzing that they got to watch this. Yeah, no, real good guy, and shout out to him, and I hope you get better soon, Simon. There's been some real good fundraisers. Matt Sully, he did a raffle with some Harrow stuff. I think they made quite a bit of money for that. But yeah, I hope you're doing all right, mate. Much love to you and your family.
Yeah, definitely always unfortunate when we see someone who is such a legend like himself, you know, facing these hardships and like getting hurt and whatnot. So yeah, I hope he's doing okay.
He'll be sweet, man. He's a champion. He'll be back at it.
Yeah, definitely. So what was your favorite memory from filming both of these videos?
That's a tough one, man. Like there's so like literally like from start to finish is good memories. Like everyone pushed themselves. Everyone went above and beyond. You know, I think everyone was rad. That's why I called the first one Unsung. But they really stepped up and showed even more so why I thought they needed some shine. And what next was another production, but like more of a organized production in the sense of I tried to film a lot of the clips myself as opposed to pulling in footage from wherever, so there would be some sort of uniform to it. But just great to have them as memories, and I'd encourage anybody to put something together to look back on. It's a fantastic little time capsule of where our lives were at that time.
Yeah, definitely, man. And that's something that like why I got into filming was basically just so that I would have something to look back on in, 10, 20, 15, however many years realistically. Like it's something that I want to be able to show to, people I meet like years from now and whatnot. So yeah, man, filming is definitely something that I am very passionate about, and I wish that a lot more people would get into it and be working on these kind of big, long projects, because there is such a big difference of like, the feeling that you get when you finish a big project like this, rather than, I posted this many things on Instagram this year. It's, I don't know, it's tough, but I feel like Instagram and whatnot, and just the attention span that people have nowadays, doing full lengths is definitely more of a difficult thing. So I don't know. I'm going to try and put out at least a mixtape video by the end of this year. We're doing a trip to Montreal in the summer, so I kind of want to do like a Montreal mix video. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Some DVDs are still happening. There's, but yeah, it's the whole attention span thing, isn't it? It's 15-second, 30-second, 1-minute clips. But no, it's nice to have something to work towards. I like a project. As I say, my mind is better busy, so working on the DVDs was great. But I'm always working on an edit for myself now, and they are, as a rule, like 3 minutes or something. I don't tend to put out short stuff unless it's a contest that requires it to be like a 60-second edit or something. But yeah, no, I like to have something to work towards, and yeah, hopefully people will continue to work on sort of full lengths, or at least, like you say, a mixtape, 20 minutes or something. It's good for the guys and girls in it to have something to look back on,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, man. I fully agree with you on that. So, we're getting close to 2.5 hours here. So there's one more thing I want to talk about, which is your book that you're actually kind of in progress of writing. So if you don't mind, man, tell us a little bit about what you've got going on with that.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess kind of going back to the event with Calm that I did and talking about CTE and mental health, part of me trying to work out like how I felt. I just started writing stuff down. Like I went to see a counselor, and she said that try and articulate it to yourself in some way, just write it down. So I started writing stuff down to try and make some sense of how I felt about things, or just what was going on. And my ramblings kind of started to take some sort of chronological form. And I was like, I think we might have something here, in the sense that I'm quite passionate about getting people to like talk about things, and I don't want anyone checking out early. So I was like, maybe some kind of self-help autobiographical book could work, and it's certainly been good for me to do it, and hopefully it might help someone else not make any decisions that they can't undo. So it's very much to the work in progress. It's easier to write the good stories, the happy ones. But classical narrative structure, which my life has really followed, it denotes that the book does have the lows in it, because without the lows, the highs lose their context. You can't have one without the other. So yeah, writing about the lows, I'll have to be like either in a low point or in like a real kind of heightened state that I can write about them and not get sucked there. So it's very much a work in progress. Like I say, the stories that I'm stoked about, they sort of write themselves. But it's the struggles that I want to share, because hopefully if it just helps one other geezer or something, then that's massive. That's massive. But they're the bits that perhaps are the most hardest to write. But the book can't be done until, like, I am open and honest with myself in there. If it's going to work, like, and help someone, I need to make sure I've put everything in there. So yeah, it's very much a work in progress, but we're getting there. I guess such is life. I'm getting there.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, I'm super excited for you to kind of release it, and whenever that time does come, let me know, man. I'd love to grab a copy. So even if it's
I'll send
2
you
or 3
one for
years
sure.
from now, definitely, man. I'm super excited for it. Yeah. And what's awesome too is the fact that you've put out other content in the BMX world before. This isn't just something that you're considering doing. This is something that you will put out, and I know that you will. So yeah, man, good on you, and I'm really excited to read it.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much covers most of what we had today. We got some fan questions. If you want to jump into that, did you think that we missed anything, or we get to jump into some fan questions?
Let me just show you this, right? This is a prime example of like my mind. So I made a couple of notes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. This has been like in the side of the shop, like just to make sure I don't forget nothing. So
Yeah.
I've got that note, and I've got like all these notes and stuff. But I've tried to like make sure I'm like, look, yeah, I know. Welcome to my world, yo.
That's awesome.
But no, I'd like to do some thank yous before we go. But no, I'm keen to hear like the fan questions for sure.
Yeah, so I'll read them off for you here. And for anybody that's watching this at the moment, we are having some issues with video, so sorry about that. Should still be able to see me. But yeah, jumping into the fan questions here. If you were to ever have a doubles part with anyone in the world, who would you pick? And that came in from Burger Bigmore.
Oh, good question. And Burger Bigmore's a dude you'd really like. He's in a band called Stiff Joints. You should check them out. There's like heaps of them on stage, trumpets and all sorts.
Nice.
So shout out to him. Yeah, man, he's from like Kidderminster, which isn't too far from where I am. I don't know, a double section. I'd like to work on something with Will Jackson. He's an awesome dude, rides for We the People, been killing it for years. He does X-Up grinds, tables, wears a helmet. Yeah, split section with Will Jackson would be good. But also, I don't know, I'd like to, Eric Elstrin, he's cool. Jake Seeley, Mad Mike. I don't know, yeah, there's heaps of dudes. But yeah, I guess mainly like peg orientated people, I guess, would work. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it would be better to pair me up with a full on trails rider, so you've got everything you need in one edit. No, I'm not too sure really, but yeah, someone like Will Jackson or Eric E, something like that.
Yeah, so this is another one coming in from Burger Bigmore. Favorite video or video part?
Favorite video? I'm not too sure of favorite video, but certainly first video would be Too Hip, Rock and Roll. That's got a lot to answer for. That video has for sure, man. They're like Ron Wilkinson, Cameron Birdwell, all those dudes absolutely killing it. Sublime, they're in there, like they use some of their music and stuff. And they take like a kayak out to Mount Baldy full pipe. Maybe that's where the full pipe things come from. I saw that in my first video. Yeah, that's definitely my first video. It was like a bootleg copy that my mate David recorded off the video and stuff. Yeah, man, I wore that thing out. But yeah, best video. I'm not too sure. But yeah, certainly first video, Too Hip, Rock and Roll. Oh, best video, What Next and Unsung, yo.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, and this was the last one coming in from Burger Bigmore. Who are your top 5 BMX riders?
Oh, top 5. Okay. Yeah, that's tricky, man. Okay, Butcher, like, he's a legend. Seth Kimbrough, Will Jackson, Toby Forte, and the fifth one would be we've got street guys, we've got trail guys. Simon Tabron.
Hell yeah, I love it, dude. Yeah, Seth Kimbrough is incredible, dude. I love his riding. He has always been so good on a bike. Just a street legend, man.
I think that's where the X-Up grinds came from, you know, like having watched Seth in I think it's props, maybe like 38 or something. He's got a bio and he does X-Up grind bio, and I was like, yeah, that's me. And like in the Matt Hoffman computer game, he wears a skeleton t-shirt, so I got a skeleton t-shirt.
There you go.
And then in BMX Rider magazine, my mate wrote in and said that I was the UK's version of Seth Kimbrough. That was in the letters page. Yeah, shout out Matt Hill for writing that letter in about me and Seth. But yeah, no, he's been a big influence. And yeah, Will Jackson, he's 4 pegs, X-Up grinds, tables, and a helmet, big influence. Yeah, Toby Forte, one of the Forte brothers, he's had a head injury as well. Like my best man Martin was there the day that Toby had his head injury, pretty much saved his life. Toby was, yeah, he was out for a bit, but no, he's a good guy. Sick one-handed tables, and then yeah, Tabron, Vert legend. Butcher, yeah, I do loads of levitation grinds, which people often call levitator. But the levitator is like more of like a pedal ice pick, if you will, that Mike Tagg did. The levitation grind that Butcher did is front peg and pedal, so it looks a bit more like a Smith. Yeah, levitation grind. Yeah, Butcher's sick, man. Been inspired by a lot of his stuff. Magic carpet grind, managed to get one of those on film once. Yeah, that's my top 5.
Hell yeah, dude. I love it. This one comes in from Matt Nicholin from Entity BMX Shop. Matt, how you doing, dude? Thanks for watching this episode. What are your influences in regards to style and riding?
Shout out, Matt. It's a good dude. I've listened to his podcast you did a couple of times, man. Love that one. Props on that. Yeah, so influences would be, I like to do tables, head down, bars turned. So you've got the Forte brothers. There's like a style influence there for the way I do my tables. And then you've got the riders that I mentioned in my top 5 that have influenced my street riding. Um, yeah, 4 pegs, X-up grinds, tables, helmet. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's rad. I mean, we did cover quite a bit of it throughout the thing, but yeah, Matt, thank you so much for throwing those in there. And then this last one from Matt is favorite riders growing up. So I feel like we kind of covered some of that, but yeah, just tell us some of your favorite riders growing up.
Yeah, so it'll be that 2-hit video, Ron Wilkinson.
Nice.
I thought this guy is cool. Yeah, so Ron Wilkinson, Cameron Birdwell, all the Pashley riders, Dylan Clayton, Ross Hill, all those guys. Like I said, they inspired me so much, but it was more of like, I suppose, like the mindset that they inspired me. And oh man, this is my brain coming and going. I need to do a massive one, top 5, like do a 5.1, if you will. It's Stephen Murray. Like,
hell yeah.
Like the guy's a legend, and he inspired me so much, right? He made a video called Bicycles and Dirt, and when I was working at Pashley, he came in to sell these copies to get himself to go to America to chase his dream, and I bought so many of them, like more than I probably should have done. But I was just like in awe that he was in the shop trying to sell this video, and that inspired me to make my videos to go off and chase my dream in Australia. Yeah, he's a massive influence, man, like as a rider, but also the mentality of stay strong. I've got a stay strong tattoo, which they posted up on their Instagram. And they actually, when I met Stephen, when he came back to the UK, he put a picture on his Instagram as well. And that was massive because like he remembered me from Pashley, and I've always been a huge supporter of his riding and the brand. And then when he came back to the UK, like he came back, he doesn't live too far away. I've got to hang out with him a couple of times. And they had the Stay Strong Jam at the Redditch skate park, and I got an MVP medal. Yeah, man, like stay strong for sure. Like, yeah, Stephen Murray, absolute legend. He needs to be in that top 5. I'm not taking anyone out of top 5, but we'll just have like a top 5 that includes 6 people.
Yeah.
That like he made a video called Bicycles and Dirt, and it inspired me to do that and to use the money to go overseas like he did. Yeah, man, shout out Stephen Murray for sure.
Yeah, dude, he's a legend, and another one that BMX definitely owes a lot to. Stephen Murray is the man. So shout out to you, dude. Thank you so much for everything you've done for BMX. Yeah, so Nik, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for doing the show today. And, before we go, I'll let you give your thank yous and whatnot. And then I got one more question for you after that.
Awesome, man. Cam, firstly, like massive thanks to you for the opportunity to come on and share some of my stories. Yeah, thanks, man. I wish you all the success with this. I think what you're doing is rad. Yeah, go get it, bro.
Oh, dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But the pleasure was mine. This has been a lot of fun getting to sit down and hear your story.
Cool, man. So I've got a few thank yous. I wrote them down because I didn't want to forget anyone. So I'd just like to, thank all my friends and family, all the guys I ride with regularly, like Tom, Adam, Rico, Rich, Steve, Connor, Brad, Jack, Diz, Martin. But yeah, massive shout out to like my past and present sponsors. Shout out to Miraco, shout out to Diamondback, shout out to Duffs for the continued support. Martha and Estelle, like much love. Thank you to Pashley Cycles for taking me under their wing when I pretty much would have had to quit if they hadn't have given me that job and that bike. And yeah, man, that was massive for me. That really was at the start, like what they did for me. And they got me into college when I didn't have the best GCSEs. And the Pashley managing director made a few phone calls and got me into a different college with crap grades. They did so much for me, and this is why I've always tried to like hook up and look after the younger generation, if you will, because just one act of kindness can go so far. And they did heaps for me. So thank you, Pashley Cycles. And then Precinct 13, there's that number again. And Greenback's Clothing was my first clothing sponsor. Shout out to them. Maxis and 661, thanks to Matt Sully for sorting that out. Homer at BC BMX and Passion BMX magazine. Shout out to Rive Mag for all the support in print and online. Neil Fraser, Robin Fenlon, Robin Pearson, Graham Hardy, Mark Noble for many was at Ride, right through to now with GT and Mongoose for supporting my charity events. Stoked on that. Pat Quinn for posting my stuff on the Come Up and also posting it on our BMX. But DeJong at Fat BMX, man, he's been a supporter since like back in the day, talking like 2003. He posted about Love Metal Jam. 2006, sorry, posted about Love Metal Jam on Fat BMX. Kurt at BMX Union, another supporter, and Coops at Focal Point. I mentioned that earlier. Bella Bathurst for putting me in her book. Shout out to anyone that's watched any of my edits, shared them, or anything. And I guess finally and most importantly, to my beautiful wife Fiona, thank you for everything. None of this would have been possible without your help, and thank you so much, sweetheart. Man. Be weird, be kind, stay rad.
Hell yeah, dude. I love it. So my last question for you here today is, as someone who's done so much in life and been through much more than the average person, what are some words of wisdom that you think we could all take away from?
Okay, yeah. I guess I'll repeat the last bit and just, be weird, be kind, and stay rad.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I love it, dude. That's a great answer for that. I definitely think, just keeping a positive attitude is definitely the biggest thing that you could do, and you are a great example of that.
It's tricky sometimes, man. Like, it does take quite a lot of effort to trick yourself that it's all good, but, you've got to, because, it's a miracle that anyone's here.
Definitely.
And you just got to make the most of it, man. Because no one's getting out of this shit alive, So just do you, whatever that is. Just do you and make sure you're having a nice time. But don't shit on anyone else's parade either. Just be aware that actions have reactions, and you got to just be kind. But also you've got to be a bit weird as well. And then, stay rad.
Hell yeah, man. I love it. Nick, again, thank you for coming on. This has been really rad. Thank you guys for checking out the podcast today, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.